Chapter 1465. Next, Lin Yi continued to experiment several times, but the results were the same. Once the fire temperature was changed, the alchemy fire would automatically extinguish. It was very accurate. Even Lin Yi could accurately know the time interval between the alchemy fire extinguishing. It seems I can only stop first. Lin Yi shook his head and said, I don't know if it's because of my own reason, or because of the lack of energy. However, Lin Yi did not give up. If the fire alchemy fire did not work, wasn't there other alchemy fires of gold, earth, water, and wood? Lin Yi experimented one by one. He did not believe that he could not find a suitable alchemy fire for him to use. Therefore, in the next few days, Lin Yi began to experiment with the water alchemy fire catalysis. With the previous experience of the fire alchemy fire, the water alchemy fire catalysis process was much easier than before. Lin Yi only used one day to catalyze the water alchemy fire. Anyway, Lin Yi had the jade pendant space to support him. He was not afraid that his energy would not be able to keep up, so alchemy masters like Lin Yi were really rare. Generally, many people would choose to give up after practicing a kind of alchemy fire. After all, no one could afford the energy consumption brought about by the experiment. Even a heaven stage master would need to recover for a while before trying the next alchemy fire, unlike Lin Yi who could directly change the fire without any pressure. Although Lin Yi's advantage was very obvious, the results still made Lin Yi very disappointed. The water alchemy fire was successfully catalyzed, but when Lin Yi wanted to change the fire temperature, he failed again. Lin Yi sighed, but fortunately, Lin Yi did not waste much time, so he was not too disappointed. There were still gold, wood, and earth alchemy fires to experiment. There was still a chance. Lin Yi left-hand fire alchemy fire, right water alchemy fire, back and forth for a while, and then began to practice the gold alchemy fire. However, just as Lin Yi had successfully catalyzed the gold attribute alchemic fire, suddenly there were sounds of voices coming from outside the inn. Lin Yi was shocked and immediately stopped cultivating. He quickly moved to the windowsill and looked out. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that there was an extra BMW X6 SUV in the parking lot at the entrance of the inn. Previously, there was only Lin Yi's Grand Cherokee and the Boss Land Rover in the parking lot. This BMW X6 obviously just arrived here. This small town was originally located in an extremely remote area, and almost no tourists would come here. Previously, apart from Lin Yi's room, there were no other guests in the entire inn. At that time, when Lin Yi first came here, he was also very curious about this place. Lin Yi was very puzzled about the size of the inn in this small town. The interior decoration was also very exquisite, but the name of the inn was a bit retro. It was called Iceberg Inn. On the inn's signboard, there was a logo of an ice flower pattern, which seemed to be a company's chain logo. Lin Yi was very curious. How could there be such a big inn in this small town that seemed to have no outsiders at all? Wasn't the owner of this inn afraid of losing money? Of course, Lin Yi was new here, and it was not good to ask directly when it involved these business secrets. And today, someone came here again, which made Lin Yi a little confused. Of course, what surprised Lin Yi the most was that the BMW's license plate was actually the license plate of Donghai City, which was near Songshan City. In other words, this person should be from the same place as him. After the BMW X6 stopped, two young men got out of the car. Although the young man driving and the young man in the car were dressed similarly, from his tone and demeanor, it was obvious that he was respectful. It seemed that the young man in the car was the leader. The two of them had a master-servant relationship. Master Tan, this is the inn that the invitation told everyone to check into. It's called Iceberg Inn. The young driver pointed at the Iceberg Inn signboard and said to the young man in the car, Not bad, it looks like we're early, there aren't many people here yet. Master Tan looked at Lin Yi's Jeep and the owner's Land Rover next to the car and said, We can familiarize ourselves with the environment. Coming early is also an advantage. We can use this opportunity to rope in people from other houses and sects and see if there's a possibility of cooperation. Master Tan clearly didn't care much about Lin Yi and the owner's car. After the young driver locked the car, the two of them walked directly into the lobby of the Iceberg Inn to check in. Hello, we are from the hidden house of Zhao of Donghai. This is the invitation we received. May I ask when the Ice Palace trial will begin? The young driver arrived at the front desk of the inn and took out a letter. It was the letter with the ice flower symbol in Zhao Guangyin's hand. The inn was big, But there weren't any waiters in the lobby. Only the owner sat behind the bar, and after hearing the young driver's words, he said expressionlessly, "Everyone who comes here knows about the trial. Otherwise, who would come here? Just take out your ID and register. Then go back to your room and wait."
Yes.
Master Tan nodded awkwardly. He didn't expect the owner to not give him any face at all, but he didn't dare show any displeasure. This was the place designated by the Ice Palace, so the owner should be part of the Ice Palace as well. Even a normal person from the Ice Palace wasn't someone House Zhao could afford to offend. Hidden houses and ancient sects weren't on the same level at all. It was like the relationship between a normal house and a hidden house. "Zhao Qikuan, Zhao Qijiu, do you want one room or two?" the owner asked after registering their identities. These two, naturally, were the hidden house Zhao's Zhao Qikuan and Zhao Qijiu. Zhao Qijiu's surname was Zhao too, but it was something the Zhaos gave him after he came to House Zhao. The Qi in the middle meant that he was in the same generation as Zhao Qibing and Zhao Qikuan, and the number 9 was a number. The other disciples of House Zhao were called Zhao Qishir, Zhao Qishi, and so on. Some families would purposely use the same word in their names based on seniority, but some families didn't care about that and wouldn't use it. Chapter 1466. One room is fine, we're together. Qikuan nodded to the owner politely. "All right, one room, 10,000 deposit, 500 per day." The owner said faintly. Qijiu quickly swiped his card and paid the bill, taking the room card with Qikuan as they quickly went upstairs. The room price wasn't high, but the deposit for the test was shockingly expensive. Evidently, the rent and deposit were just a cover for normal tourists who didn't know about it. At that moment, Lin Yi had left the room and was standing at the door, listening to the conversation between Qikuan and the owner. Because he was curious about who Qikuan and the others were, Lin Yi wanted to see what they were talking about, so he came to the door. There was no one in the hotel right now, so while Qikuan and the others weren't speaking loudly, Lin Yi heard every single word. "Ice Palace test? What was that?" Lin Yi didn't know what was going on. Why did it sound like some sect was holding some kind of event? Plus, Qikuan and Qijiu didn't even have invitations. But the owner didn't even bother looking at it. Did he think that everyone who came here had invitations? No wonder the owner didn't find it strange at all when he came here, ignoring his actions. So he thought that Lin Yi was someone who had received an invitation to participate in the Ice Palace test? Lin Yi understood. Why was this hotel so big? So this was why it had such a retro name. Sects and whatnot like to have retro names. But what was the purpose of this Ice Palace test? He'd come to this hotel by chance, and staying here. Was this a blessing or a curse? Qikuan, Qijiu, Hidden House Zhao? Their names were similar to Zhao Qibing's. Could they be from the hidden house that Zhao Qibing was from? With that thought, Lin Yi put these two on the list of people he should be wary of. The hatred between him and the hidden house Zhao was irresolved. Qibing, Uncle Zhu, Yao Wang, and the others were all injured because of him, and Lin Yi didn't plan on making peace with Qibing. After all, the conflict between Lin Yi and Qibing was different from Chen Tian's. Between Lin Yi and Chen Tian, at the end of the day, they were more playful and playful. Most of the time, they were just messing with Chen Tian, not fighting each other. But it was different with Zhao Qibing. Zhao Qibing had been causing trouble for him time and time again, and unless House Zhao gave up on Zhao Qibing to apologize to Lin Yi, there was no chance of reconciliation. Of course, these two were on the list of people Lin Yi should be wary of, but that didn't stop Lin Yi from interacting with them and getting some useful information from them. Lin Yi had to figure out what was going on with this Ice Palace test. But his name in the hidden house Zhao shouldn't be a secret anymore. With that thought, Lin Yi was glad that he was lucky. This time, his identity was made by Tianlong, and he was called Ling Yi, not Lin Yi. Ling Yi was a name he used when he was in the department, and Tianlong had a complete file on it, so he didn't need to make a new one. He used the identity of the department because he didn't want Lin Yi to get into trouble. After all, there was an ice coffin in the back of the car. Lin Yi, Ling Yi. Although the pronunciation was similar, they were two completely different people. He believed that these two from the hidden house Zhao wouldn't suspect him, and even if they did, he'd get what he wanted to know. But it had to be said that Jianghu had hit the jackpot by a fluke, naming the substitute 01. Of course, Lin Yi wasn't in a rush to contact Qikuan and the others. He stayed in his room and waited. When Qikuan stopped the car, Lin Yi already knew what he was planning. He came here so early to contact the others, so Lin Yi waited for them to contact him. This way, it wouldn't be too sudden. The reason why Qikuan and Qijio were here so early was because old Zhao was in solitary practice. The other disciples of the noble houses would talk to the head of the house before they left, and they'd be told about the things to pay attention to during the test. But old Zhao was in solitary practice, and Qikuan and Qijio had no choice but to leave first. They wanted to look around and see if they could get some allies here. Grandpa's practice really isn't the right time, and the Ice Palace test just had to start now. Qikuan went into his room and tidied up before speaking to Qijio, a little depressed. I always wanted the test to start, and every time I asked Grandpa, he'd say that he'd tell me when it's really happening. Knowing too early isn't good for my mental state. But now, he's in solitary practice. Qijio was Qikuan's confidant, and so he didn't care about what he said. He said whatever he wanted. Qijio was in the hidden house Zhao, and he was a loyal supporter of Qikuan. He wanted Qikuan to become the head of the house the most. Young Master Tan, the old man had his own concerns before, but it was a coincidence that we were able to come here this time. If the Ice Palace's trial had been held a few years later, it might not have been you and me who came here. Qijio sighed. Right now, our hidden house Zhao situation is a little unclear. You're talking about Zhao Qibing? Qikuan frowned. Yeah, I heard that Qibing wasn't liked by the old man, but this time for some reason, he suddenly came back to House Zhao and became Elder Bai's disciple. What's going on that we don't know? Qijio nodded. That's what I've been wondering about, but Grandpa's in solitary practice, and the only person who knows is Elder Bai, and no one can order him around. Other than Grandpa, no one can make him say anything. Qikuan said worriedly, do you think Zhao Qibing's appearance has something to do with Grandpa's solitary practice? Chapter 1467. Alright, 1 room, 10,000 deposit, 500 per day. The owner said faintly. Qijio quickly swiped his card and paid the bill, taking the room card with Qikuan as they quickly went upstairs. The room prices here weren't high, but the deposit for the test was shockingly expensive. Evidently, the rent and deposit were just a cover-up for normal tourists who didn't know what was going on. At that moment, Lin Yi had already left the room, standing at the door, quietly listening to the conversation between Qikuan and the owner. Because he was curious about Qikuan's identity, Lin Yi wanted to see what was going on, so he came to the door. There was no one in the hotel right now, so while Qikuan and the others weren't speaking loudly, Lin Yi heard every single word. Ice Palace test? What was that? Lin Yi didn't know what was going on. Why did it sound like some sect was holding some kind of event? Plus, Qikuan and Qijio didn't even have invitations. But the owner didn't even bother looking at it. Did he think that everyone who came here had invitations? No wonder the owner didn't find it strange at all when he came here, ignoring his actions. So he thought that Lin Yi was someone who had received an invitation to participate in the Ice Palace test? Lin Yi understood. Why was this hotel so big? So this was why it had such a retro name. Sects and whatnot like to have retro names. But what was the purpose of this Ice Palace test? He'd come to this hotel by chance, and staying here. Was this a blessing or a curse? Qikuan, Qijio, Hidden House Zhao? Their names were similar to Zhao Qibing's. Could they be from the hidden house that Zhao Qibing was from? With that thought, Lin Yi put these two on the list of people he had to watch out for. The hatred between him and the hidden house Zhao, Qibing, Uncle Zhu, Yao Wang, and the others were all injured because of him, and Lin Yi didn't plan on making peace with Qibing. After all, the conflict between Lin Yi and Qibing was different from Chen Tian's. Between Lin Yi and Chen Tian, at the end of the day, they were more playful and playful. Most of the time, they were just messing with Chen Tian, not fighting each other. But it was different with Zhao Qibing. Zhao Qibing had been causing trouble for him time and time again, and unless House Zhao gave up on Zhao Qibing to apologize to Lin Yi, there was no chance of reconciliation. Of course, although these two were on Lin Yi's list of people to watch out for, it didn't stop Lin Yi from interacting with them and getting some useful information from them. Lin Yi had to figure out what this Ice Palace test was all about. But his name in the hidden house Zhao wasn't a secret anymore. With that thought, Lin Yi felt lucky. This time, his identity was made by Feng Tianlong. His name was Ling Yi, not Lin Yi. Ling Yi was a name he'd used when he was on a mission with the Supernatural Investigation Department. Tianlong had a complete file on it, so he didn't need to make a new one. He used the identity of the investigation department because he didn't want Lin Yi to get into trouble. After all, there was an ice coffin in the back of the car. Lin Yi Ling Yi. The pronunciation was similar, but they were two completely different people. He believed that these two wouldn't suspect him. Even if they did, he'd get what he wanted to know. But he had to admit that Jianghu had gotten it right, naming Lin Yi's substitute 01. Of course, Lin Yi wasn't in a rush to contact Qikuan and the others. He stayed in his room and waited. When Qikuan stopped the car, Lin Yi already knew what he was planning. He came here early to contact the others, and so Lin Yi waited for them to contact him. That way, it wouldn't be too out of place. The reason why Qikuan and Qijio came here so early was because old Zhao was in solitary practice. The other disciples of the noble houses would talk to the head of the house before they left, being told some things to take note of. But the old man of House Zhao was in solitary practicing, and Qikuan and Qijio had no choice but to leave first. They wanted to find some information here, see if they could get some allies here. Grandpa's practice really isn't the right time, and the Ice Palace test just had to start now. Qikuan went into his room and tidied up before speaking to Qijio, a little depressed. I always looked forward to the Ice Palace test, and every time I asked Grandpa, he'd say that he'd tell me about it when it's really happening. It's not good for my training if I know too early. But now, he's in solitary practice. Because Qijio was Qikuan's confidant, he didn't care about what he said. Qijio was in the hidden house, and he was a loyal supporter of Qikuan. He wanted Qikuan to become the head of the house the most. Young Master Tan, the old man had his own concerns before, but it was a coincidence that we were able to come here this time. If the Ice Palace's trial had been held a few years later, it might not have been you and me who came here. Qijio sighed. Right now, the situation of our hidden house is a little unclear. You're talking about Zhao Qibing? Qikuan frowned. Yeah, I heard that Qibing wasn't liked by the old man, but this time for some reason, he suddenly came back to House Zhao and became Elder Bai's disciple. What's going on that we don't know? Qijio nodded. That's what I've been wondering about, but Grandpa's in solitary practice, and the only person who knows is Elder Bai. He's someone who can't be ordered around, and other than Grandpa, no one can make him say anything. Qikuan said worriedly, do you think that Zhao Qibing's appearance has something to do with Grandpa's solitary practice? Chapter 1468. Master Kuan, Zhao Qibing must have been praised by the old man in some way, that's for sure. Otherwise, he wouldn't have become Elder Bai's disciple, and Elder Bai seems to want to train this disciple with all his heart. Qijio said, that's why I said that if we'd waited a few years, it wouldn't have been us here. You're saying that Elder Bai might have used those treasures and that secret technique? Qikuan blinked. Isn't that something only the next head of the house can use? What if Elder Bai and Elder Bai have already decided on Zhao Qibing as the next head of the house? Qijio asked. That. Qikuan hesitated, a fierce look in his eyes. I don't care if Elder Bai can use that secret technique to level up Zhao Qibing, but I have to win this Ice Palace test. I have to enter the Ice Palace and become an outer disciple. Maybe even an inner disciple. I have to become the head of House Zhao. Shoo. Qijio jumped. Master Kuan. You can't just say stuff like that. The walls have ears. So what if we say it here? The old man can't hear us, and no one knows us. Qikuan smiled. Do you know why the old man doesn't like my uncle? It's because he's too careful, isn't it? The old man doesn't like people like that. In order to become the head of the house, one has to have the magnanimity and spirit of a head. He can't do that. That's true, but there's no harm in being careful. Qijio said, right. There were two cars parked downstairs, one with a local license plate and the other with a foreign one. The local one probably belongs to the owner of the inn, but we don't have to worry about it. The owner of the other car must be here for the Ice Palace test as well. I wonder which house or power he's representing. Let's find a chance to get in touch tonight and see if we can become friends. Even if we can't work together, it'd be best if we don't become enemies. Qikuan said. In the test, one more friend means one more path. Young Master Tan is right, but how should we approach him? If it's too deliberate, it'll seem a bit pretentious. Noble houses aren't idiots. Qijio said. Let's see. It'd be best if we meet by chance, but if it doesn't work, we'll just go up to him and introduce ourselves. There's no need to pretend or anything. We all have the same goal anyways. Qikuan said. Qikuan wanted to get in touch with Lin Yi, and on Lin Yi's side, naturally, wanted to get in touch with Qikuan as well. He wanted to get more information about the Ice Palace test from them. Lin Yi didn't want to get involved in the Ice Palace testing. Lin Yi's goal here was just to find the fruit, but since this was Ice Palace's area of influence, would the fruit have anything to do with the Ice Palace? According to what Li Ju said, the fire spirit's fruit was a treasure, and with a powerful existence like Ice Palace nearby, would they let go of a treasure like this? The strength of the Ice Palace could be seen from the identity of the participants. Even the hidden house Zhao was here, so naturally, there would be other hidden houses here as well. Then, the identity of the Ice Palace was obvious. They were probably an ancient sect, and only an ancient sect could be above the hidden house Zhao. And so, Lin Yi decided to get in touch with Qikuan and Qijiu. But how would he get in touch with them? Qikuan and Qijiu really wanted to get in touch with him, but it wouldn't be good to do it too deliberately. The inn didn't provide food, and these few days, Lin Yi would go to the food stalls to get something to eat. Sometimes, he'd forget to eat when he was training his refinement fire. Lin Yi was a mystic anyway. A few days without food was no problem. Of course, not eating for a long time wouldn't work either. Mystics weren't gods, and they were different from sky classes. 3 to 5 days without food was fine, but 10 days to half a month would be enough for them to starve to death. After all, the qi outside wasn't enough to keep up with the qi used up in the body. And so, Lin Yi was a special case. There was an endless amount of energy in the jade space to replenish the energy he lost, and Lin Yi just needed to convert the energy in the jade space to his own, saving him the trouble of using pure qi to replenish his energy. He looked at the time. It was dinner time, and he walked out of the room. When he opened the door, he purposely made some noise. He believed that with Qikuan and Qijiu's mystic strength, they would be able to sense it easily. After all, they didn't live far from him. As expected, as Lin Yi walked out of his room and closed the door, a guest room not far away opened its door as well. Qikuan and Qijiu walked out as well, but when they saw that Lin Yi was alone, they froze. One had to know that every house or power could send 2 people to participate in the Ice Palace test, and most houses would send 2 people. After all, being in the same house meant that they could look out for each other, and it was better than just one person. Of course, there were special cases as well. For example, the mystics of the house didn't like each other, and they fought fiercely with each other. Under these circumstances, it was normal for the house to only send one person to participate in the test for safety reasons. After all, if the 2 people they sent were cold-blooded, then they might use the test to kill each other. If something happened, it wouldn't be worth it. Not only would they fail to achieve the goal of the test, but they'd also lose 2 mystics for nothing. What a coincidence. Are you going for dinner? Qikuan quickened his steps and smiled at Lin Yi. Yes, what business do you 2 have? You 2 are new here, right? Haven't seen you before? Lin Yi wanted to talk as well, so he used Qikuan's topic to ask. Chapter 1469. School Beauty's Bodyguard 146. Chapter 1467. Invite to join. Qikuan didn't get annoyed at Lin Yi's words. He'd heard that some people from small sects would be very secretive about their masters, unlike him, who was a disciple of a noble house. The disciples of these sects who came out for training, unless they were the sons of the elders or the sons of the sect masters or direct disciples who were a bit more arrogant, the other normal disciples would be very careful. As far as he was concerned, Lin Yi was this kind of person. Thank you for understanding, Brother Zhao. Lin Yi gave a smile as he raised his flask and took a big gulp. Good. Great. Qikuan and Qijiu took a sip as well before putting down their flasks. The lamb leg and lamb chops would take a long time to cook, but none of them were in a rush. They weren't here to eat. Qikuan was here to make connections, and Lin Yi was here to get some information. You 2 are early. Coming to the test this early? Lin Yi purposely changed the topic to the Ice Palace trial. He wanted to learn more about training through Qikuan and Qijiu. Haha. Isn't Brother Ling earlier? Qikuan smiled. I'm afraid you're the first one here. Yeah. Lin Yi shrugged helplessly. Can't help it, Master just had to go into solitary practice at this time, and there was no point in me staying in the sect, so I came here first. Lin Yi told him who he was. This way, even if he didn't know anything, he could say that his master was in solitary practice, and he didn't know the details. Qikuan wouldn't suspect anything. What a coincidence. My grandpa is in solitary practice as well, so there's no point in us staying at home, So we came here first, Qikuan said, surprised as he looked at Lin Yi. Brother Ling, we really are fated.
You guys too?
What a coincidence. Lin Yi smiled to himself. He didn't think that he'd gotten it right. Now Qikuan wouldn't suspect anything. Yeah, there's a good saying. Qikuan smiled. I wonder how strong Brother Ling is. Can you tell me? This trial is limited to Mystic Class Masters. Brother Ling, what level of Mystic Class are you at? Qikuan was afraid that Lin Yi would keep it for himself, so he explained the rules clearly. Even if we're all Mystic Class Masters, you don't have to worry about anything. He said this because he was afraid that Lin Yi didn't know anything and was even more ignorant than him. I'm not talented. I'm only at the peak of the middle phase of the Mystic Class. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. There's a gap between the young and the old in my sect. Those who are around the same level as me are all Earth Class Masters, and those who joined after me are only Golden Class. Thinking about it, I'm the only one who fits the requirements. Lin Yi blurted out that only strength was real, the rest was made up. What Lin Yi said was more in line with the reality of the situation.
I see. No wonder Brother Ling came alone, that's the reason.
Qikuan said that, but he was shocked. It seemed that Lin Yi's sect wasn't small at all. Even the young generation were Earth Class Masters. This sect was definitely not normal. With that thought, he started to think about making friends with Lin Yi. Lin Yi, on the other hand, wanted Qikuan to misunderstand. How could he talk to him if he didn't? Yeah, how strong are the two Zhao brothers? Lin Yi knew their strength, but he still asked again without batting an eyelid. I'm Mystic Middle Phase Peak. Same as Brother Ling, Little Jiao is Mystic Late Phase, a little higher than us. Qikuan said proudly. This was his trump card. In the tournament, Mystic Class was the limit, and Jiao was Mystic Late Phase. This made their advantage obvious, and they had an easier time winning compared to the other Mystic Early Phase participants. Then you two should be quite confident in the test, right? Lin Yi continued to flatter the two without batting an eyelid. It's hard to say. There might even be Mystic Late Phase Peak. Qikuan smiled faintly. Plus, no one knows how the tournament is. We'll have to wait for the Ice Palace people to come. That's true, but even if you two aren't the best, you're definitely at the top, so there's no need to worry. Lin Yi continued to flatter them. Right, have you been to the Ice Palace before? Who could have been there before? It seems like Brother Ling really doesn't know anything. That's right, the elders and the master wouldn't tell us about it before it starts. Qikuan himself was like that, but he was confident that he knew more than Lin Yi. Who could have been to the Ice Palace before? It's all our first time here. Then where is the Ice Palace? Is it nearby? Lin Yi asked. Yeah, it's over there. Qikuan pointed in a direction. I know the general direction, but I've never been there before. If you want to go to the Ice Palace, you have to pass the test. Normal people wouldn't be able to just go there. The Ice Palace is different from us hidden houses and normal sects. It's an ancient sect. It really was an ancient sect. Lin Yi nodded in his heart, but he was a little hesitant about the direction Qikuan was pointing at. Wasn't that where the fire spirit's fruit was? Isn't that the land of the extreme north? Why was there an ice palace there? According to Zhang Liju's description, there shouldn't be any people here. Otherwise Zhang Liju would have told him about it. That was right. How many years had it been? Time had changed. It wasn't strange for a sect to appear here. But this made it a lot more troublesome for Lin Yi to find the fruit. If that was where the ice palace was, then the fire spirit's fruit would have been found by them already, and he wouldn't be able to pick it without their permission. Lin Yi couldn't help but frown at the thought. He thought that his biggest problem would be finding the exact location of the fruit in this vast expanse, but it seemed that the ice palace had become his biggest obstacle. I don't know if I can win this time, Lin Yi said worriedly. This was his true feelings, and he didn't need to pretend. And so, from Qikuan's perspective, Lin Yi was really worried. He tried to comfort him. Who doesn't want to win here? But the Ice Palace has a limited number of outer disciples, and it's not that easy to get the treasures, so. I wonder if Brother Ling is interested in forming a team? School Beauty's Personal Expert 146. Chapter 1470. Team Up. Lin Yi paused. That means we'll work together during the test, and we'll split the results equally. That way, we'll have a higher chance of winning. Qikuan's invitation was a little abrupt, since it was the first time the two had met, but since they'd already talked about it, it was a good time to ask.
About that.
I'm sorry, but I can't agree to it straight away. There are rules in the sect, so let me think about it first. Lin Yi didn't agree right away, but rejected it in a roundabout way. Chikuan was a little disappointed after hearing Lin Yi's words, but it was within his expectations. It was normal for Lin Yi to have misgivings. Who would agree to join a team on their first day without even knowing the other person's character? Haha, naturally, Brother Ling, you don't need to agree right away. Go back and think about it.
Chikuan smiled.
Come, let's not talk about this. Let's drink and eat. We Jianghu people don't need to be polite or anything. With that, Chikuan cut off a piece of roasted mutton and put it in his mouth, chewing loudly. When he was hiding in House Xiao, he was a very cultured and polite person. House Xiao's rules were very strict, and naturally, he wouldn't eat or drink like this. But as far as he was concerned, Lin Yi was from a Jianghu sect, so naturally, he had the habits of the Jianghu people. He was doing this to get on good terms with Lin Yi, to get him to join his team. Lin Yi was a mystic mid-phase peak, and that wasn't a week. With Lin Yi joining, it was like adding wings to a tiger.
All right.
Lin Yi ate like a wolf, and so he cut off a piece of mutton and started munching on it. After eating, the three chatted for a bit before Chikuan stood up to pay the bill. It was expensive to eat here, but Chikuan didn't mind. The three left the restaurant and got into the car. They were all mystics, and naturally, they couldn't get drunk. In a situation like this, they didn't dare get drunk. Chikuan and Lin Yi were chatting and laughing, trying to get on his side, but he was still wary of Lin Yi. He got into the car. Chikuan calmed down from his happy drinking and said to Chijiao, "This Ling Yi isn't simple, and he's not easy to deal with either. He didn't give me a single promise during this meal." Young Master Tan. Actually, this is also normal. Think about it from another perspective. If someone were to rope us in, would we directly agree?
Chijiao smiled.
We'll just ask him out for dinner every night for the next few days. Even if he can't join us, we can't be enemies.
That's for sure.
It's just that this kid hasn't said anything useful yet. Which sect does he belong to? I still don't know. Chikuan frowned. Yeah, we really don't know where this kid came from. If it's really like what he said, then his sect must be pretty big. Chijiao nodded, but there's no need to suspect his identity. His car is borrowed from the investigation department, probably to ensure a smooth journey. He's currently in contact with them and can get their help. Only hidden houses and sects can protect them. Back then, when House Yu went out to train, didn't the Secret Investigation Bureau send people to protect them too?
That's true.
Chikuan nodded. I'm not doubting his qualifications. To be able to participate in the test means that he's strong enough. Otherwise, he wouldn't be here looking for death. I just don't know where he comes from, and if he's related to us, the hidden House Xiao? I've never heard of us having a close relationship with other houses or sections. Only the hidden house you can be considered in-laws with us. But Master Tan, your identity is a little awkward.
Chijiao smiled bitterly.
If Guangyin and Xiaojin's child had come to the test personally, then there was a possibility of forming an alliance with House Yu, but now, it was already good enough that House Yu didn't harm them. Who asked them to be the next heir of House Xiao? House Yu definitely wanted Xiaojin's son to be the heir of House Xiao, and that way, they could maintain a good relationship with House Yu. That's not a problem. House Yu isn't a solid block anymore. As far as I know, the ones participating this time are Yu Bing and Yu Shan. We don't need to think about Yu Bing, but we can make use of Yu Shan. Yu Shan also wants to be the heir of House Yu, and we'll be able to make use of him. Chikuan saw through everything. These two from House Yu aren't of the same mind. Looks like we'll have a good show to watch.
Master Tan, you're wise, Chijiao said.
No matter what, we have an ally with House Yu, so we'll have a better chance of passing this test. After returning to the inn, Lin Yi said goodbye to Chikuan and Chijiao and went back to his room. Today, Lin Yi didn't get a lot of information, but it was useful. Lin Yi naturally didn't expect to get everything in one day. That wasn't realistic, and asking too much would make Chikuan suspicious. It seemed that Chikuan was a smart man. Lin Yi got two useful information. One was that the location of the ice palace was very similar to the location of the fruit, and the other was the reward for winning the test. One was to become an outer disciple of the ice palace, and the other was to get the right to exchange treasures. Becoming an outer disciple of the Ice Palace didn't interest Lin Yi much, but the right to exchange treasures did interest Lin Yi. He didn't know if the fire spirit's fruit was really controlled by the Ice Palace, and if so, would he be able to exchange it for the fruit? Of course, this was just the initial information Lin Yi had gotten. He would have to wait until he got more information before making a decision. In the next 2 days, Lin Yi practiced his refinement fire during the day, and went out to eat with Qikuan and Qijiu at night. They ate a lot of good food and drank a lot of alcohol, but they didn't talk much. It seemed like the two of them didn't know as much as Qikuan and Qijiu. Lin Yi even looked at their invitations. They didn't know as much as they did. Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't say anything about joining Qikuan's group, and Qikuan didn't ask. As far as Qikuan was concerned, it wouldn't be good if they chased this thing too quickly. Lin Yi didn't make a decision yet, probably because he wanted to wait for a few days when there were more people. He wasn't in a rush to make a decision with the two of them. Chapter 1471. After the water element refinement fire, Lin Yi had created the metal element, wood element, and earth element refinement fire. In other words, Lin Yi had become a 5-element refinement master. This was unprecedented in Zhang Liju's refinement notes. Normally speaking, a normal refinement master would be able to master one refinement fire in their entire lifetimes, and they were limited by the nature of the qi in their body. Being able to create another refinement fire on top of one refinement fire was already a very powerful refinement master. Being able to create 3 different types of refinement fire was a genius, but more than 3 types had never been seen before. At least, Zhang Liju had never seen it before. Even the best practitioner's arts couldn't create so many types of refinement fire. Was he a genius or an idiot? Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Although he could create 5 types of refinement fire, it didn't mean anything. Zhao Yazi had said it long ago that the qi in his body was omnipotent, and since it was omnipotent, it wasn't surprising that he could create any type of refinement fire. The problem was that Lin Yi couldn't control the temperature of the refinement fire continuously, so even if he could create refinement fire, he wouldn't be able to create any high-level elixirs. At Lin Yi's level, he could only create the most basic of elixirs, not even golden level 1 elixirs. Elixirs were made by combining the ingredients in the recipe into a pill, and there was no need to form the pill. This way, the effect of the pill would be much weaker than a real elixir. But Lin Yi wasn't too disappointed. After all, learning refinement was just a hobby of his. Whether or not he learned it wouldn't affect Lin Yi's current life at all, and Lin Yi didn't need to think too much about it. After all, Lin Yi didn't have a master to guide him, and he only had the refinement notes. The words inside were dry, and they were all very choppy. It was something that Lin Yi had never come into contact with before. After a few days, it was already not bad for him to have achieved so far. Therefore, while Lin Yi planned to slowly study it, in his spare time, he practiced using both hands to catalyze alchemy fires of different attributes at the same time. In the past, Lin Yi had only tried catalyzing one alchemy fire with his left hand, and when the alchemy fire on his left hand was extinguished, he would catalyze another alchemy fire on his right hand. He had never tried catalyzing 2 alchemy fires of different attributes with both hands. Of course, Lin Yi did this just for fun. Lin Yi was thinking that when he went out to barbecue, he would show it to Tang Yun, Miss, and Shu. They would be very happy. Would Xiao wake up by then? However, this trip to collect the fire spirit's fruit had become a little difficult. The sudden appearance of the ice palace was like a tiger blocking the road, causing the road ahead to be filled with uncertainty. In the morning, Lin Yi acted as usual. He left the inn and went to the parking lot to check on Xiao. Although Lin Yi's senses were locked onto Xiao every night when he trained, Lin Yi still wanted to check on her every day. In fact, the weather here didn't need an ice coffin at all. Even without one, a person's body could be frozen solid. After locking the car, Lin Yi was planning to go back to the inn when a few cars drove over from afar. They were probably going to the parking lot. Lin Yi wasn't surprised. After hearing what Qikuan said, the other participants should be here in 2 days. Lin Yi didn't know these people, and he didn't want to talk to them. He'd let Qikuan go talk to them first. All he needed to do was to quietly gather the information he needed. Talking too much would only make things easier for him to expose himself. But, after the car stopped on one of the cars, it was someone Lin Yi knew. Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat when he saw him. If they'd met under different circumstances, maybe Lin Yi would act like he didn't know him and walk past him, But here, Lin Yi needed someone he could trust to talk to, and this person fit the bill. Some things. Lin Yi didn't want to face them. Thinking back to his past self, Lin Yi sometimes felt a little emotional. Hidden houses, huh? They used to be high and mighty, but now they were all his enemies, including the hidden house Yu. Elder Yu didn't know that he was Lin Yi, but with the common house Yu's business, the hidden house Yu might intervene as well. Lin Yi didn't move, and the person saw Lin Yi as well. He paused, ignoring the people around him, and walked towards Lin Yi.
Yu Bing, it's been a while.
Lin Yi smiled and greeted the person. You. Why are you here? You're here for the Ice Palace test as well? Yu Bing was in disbelief. He didn't understand why Lin Yi would be here. Come find me after you check in. I'm in room 201 Ling Yi. Lin Yi reminded him of his name, believing that Yu Bing would understand.
All right, see you later, Brother Ling.
Yu Bing nodded and said his goodbyes to Lin Yi. From the perspective of his relationship with Yu Ning, it was normal for him to call Lin Yi brother. After all, if possible, Lin Yi was his brother-in-law. How could he call his brother-in-law big brother? Lin Yi nodded and quickly entered the inn. At this time, Yu Shan walked over as well. He looked at Lin Yi's back and said in a weird tone, I didn't expect you to be so capable, brother. You just arrived and you're already in an alliance? A friend I met when I was training. Yu Bing evidently didn't want to introduce him to Yu such. They weren't the same kind of people. How could he tell him about Lin Yi's real identity? The head son sure is strong. Being able to go out and train while the others have to stay in the house. If it weren't for this test, I don't know when I'd be able to come out. Yu Shan curled his lips. Behind Yu Shan's car was the hidden house Pai's car. They met on the road with a few other hidden houses and sects, but Pai Jishan and Pai Jihai hadn't seen Lin Yi before. They'd only heard of Lin Yi's name, so they didn't suspect that the person in front of them was Lin Yi. Pai Jishan smiled mockingly as he looked at the house Yu's disciples who started arguing with each other as soon as they arrived at the inn. In comparison, his relationship with Pai Jihai was much better. Pai Jihai was focused on practicing and didn't have the time to care about family matters. Chapter 1472. Chapter 1472. Xiao Ning's Secret. But Zhao Qikuan's follower is a mystic late phase. That's not good. Yu Shan won't let go of any chance to humiliate me. How about this? Why don't you go alone? Since your goal is the fruit, you don't need to get involved with me. I don't want to drag you down with me. Yu Bing's heart started pounding after hearing Qijiu's strength. After all, the difference between him and Lin Yi was too big. Even if Lin Yi really did break through to mystic late phase, he'd just broken through, and compared to someone who'd already broken through, he was at a disadvantage. Plus, there was this mystic mid-phase peak Yu Shan. If he went up against Qikuan, and Lin Yi went up against Qijiu, with Yu Shan ambushing them from the sidelines, who could handle that? Ha! But don't worry too much. I have a trump card.
Lin Yi said.
Even if it's an earth class, I have a chance to heavily injure him, so don't say things like that again. Since we're fated to meet again, we're still a team.
Really?
You can heavily injure an earth class? Yu Bing's eyes went wide. Fuck. Aren't you a little too strong? No wonder Xiao Ning likes you. You're a super scion. Let's not talk about that. Lin Yi interrupted Yu Bing. Some things were in the past, and it wasn't that easy to start over again. Although it wasn't that easy to forget, and it was even more profound, Lin Yi really didn't have the courage to bring it up again. Lin Yi, on the other hand, had found the happiness that belonged to himself. Tang Yun and Xiao Xiao. If he could stay with them for the rest of his life, that would be a type of happiness. As for other fates, there was no need to force it. Between him and the hidden house Yu, there seemed to be enmity from the beginning, and it was impossible to mediate until now, unless Yu Ning's father could let go of the hatred of the secular house Yu and accept Lin Yi. But someone as proud as Lin Yi, even if he went to the hidden house Yu, he might not get along well. This was what Yu Ning wanted. Lin Yi couldn't give it before, and he couldn't give it now either. The environment they grew up in was too different, and Yu Shaochen wasn't a reasonable person, either. This meant that there wouldn't be anything between the two. So instead of being disappointed, it was better to have nothing. You don't like Ning? Yu Bing didn't end the topic and asked back. So what if I do? So what if I don't like her? Lin Yi asked back. If you like her, I can help, Yu Bing said. Help? You're thinking too simply. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Do you think there's a chance of resolving the conflict between me and the common house you? At least you didn't offend the hidden house you, Yu Bing said sincerely. If you really want to, I can really work hard. There are some things you don't know, but I can feel it from what your father told me. I can see some problems as well, Linny said emotionally. Linny sighed. I don't know if you've noticed, but your house you values her more than you do. Although Yu Bing didn't want to admit it, he had to admit that Lin Yi's words hit the nail on the head. Yes, in House Yu, Yu Ning's position. She was more important than him, a direct descendant. The old ancestor of House Yu loved Yu Ning to a degree that even surpassed normal doting. The way his grandfather looked at Yu Ning was like he saw the future of House Yu, the glory of House Yu. But when he looked at him and Yu Shan, he wouldn't look at Yu Shan like that, only sternness. I don't know what secret she has, but I feel that she... Lin Yi didn't finish his sentence before Yu Bing subconsciously covered his mouth. Shoo! Yu Bing jumped in fright, but then he remembered that they were in an inn, not House Yu. This was an inn, not House Yu. He couldn't help but shake his head with a bitter smile. I'm sorry, it's just a reflex. What's wrong? Lin Yi was confused by Yu Bing's actions. I asked my father curiously before, just like you, about Ning, but I was sternly told that I'm not allowed to ask or talk about it anymore. Yu Ning is a taboo in House Yu. No one dares to talk about it. Yu Bing shrugged. I subconsciously thought that we were at House Yu, so I was afraid that someone might hear us. As expected. Lin Yi sighed. So it's better not to think about some things. But you're not weak right now, Yu Bing said. You've actually become a mystic mid-phase peak, and you're about to break through to the late phase. I really didn't expect that. Our family has treasures to make elixirs, but you probably don't have them. I have my own way of practicing, Lin Yi said. Strength isn't the important thing is that I just offended your family. Yu Bing paused. This is a qi gathering pill. I got it from someone called Elder Yu. Lin Yi took out a small bottle and put it in front of Yu Bing. Qi gathering pill. Yu Bing's eyes were wide open as he stood up with a whoosh, looking at the bottle in disbelief. Lin Yi's move had shocked him to the point where he couldn't believe it. It wasn't just because it was a qi gathering pill, but also because he got it from Elder Yu. Yu Bing's face changed. He naturally knew what a qi gathering pill was, and he knew that House Yu had sent Yu Huashing to the tomb to steal it. But he never would have thought that the reason why Huashing couldn't find the pill was because Lin Yi had stolen it. Yu Bing's first thought wasn't on how to get the pill back. Although his father needed it, Yu Bing knew that this was the rule of the martial world. This pill didn't belong to Yu Huashing, it belonged to the Tomb Master, and so it belonged to whoever got it first. It didn't belong to anyone, so there was no way to get it back. What Yu Bing thought about was that Lin Yi trusted him the most. It was such a secret, and it was related to House Yu, but Lin Yi was still able to tell him. This touched Yu Bing a little. Otherwise, Lin Yi could have just not told him, and he wouldn't have known. Do you think that the hatred between us can be resolved? Lin Yi looked at Yu Bing's expression. There was no anger, no greed, only shock and helplessness. Lin Yi wasn't wrong about him after all. Lin Yi actually wanted to test Yu Bing's character and thought, even if Lin Yi didn't take it out now, if they really couldn't find the fruit in the test, then this qi gathering pill would become the pill Lin Yi used to exchange for the fruit with the Ice Palace. Chapter 147. School Beauty's Personal Expert. Chapter 1473. Chapter 1471. Yu Bing's Invitation. The trial of the Ice Palace is based on the number of treasures found on the snowy mountain. However, you can also fight for each other's spoils. In other words, the strong are respected. Whoever has the most treasures in their hands will be the winner. Yu Bing continued, before the test, everyone will be given an Ice Mountain Jade, and it's said that this jade can not only score the treasures you get, but it also has a recording function. In other words, it's impossible for you to keep any treasure for yourself, unless it's taken by force. Otherwise, as long as it's on you, the jade will show. Lin Yi nodded. That magical? Lin Yi was a little surprised after hearing Yu Bing's words, but to an ancient sect, having such a magical jade wasn't much. Yeah. Yu Bing nodded. So if you really want the fruit, there are only two ways. Either you win the test and get the right to trade, or you sneak away during the test. But these two ways aren't absolute. The first way is possible, even if you get the right to trade, if the Ice Palace doesn't have the fruit, or if they don't want to trade with you even if they do, there's nothing you can do. The second way is easier, but I'm afraid that you won't be able to find it, or even if you do, you won't be able to bring it away. Even if you and I work together, we won't be a match for the Ice Palace. Yu Bing naturally treated himself as one of Lin Yi's people, analyzing the problem from Lin Yi's point. This made Lin Yi very touched. The two met because of Yu Ning. Yu Bing wanted to test if the man who made his sister fall in love with him was capable, and so the two had to fight. But back then, they were both golden class masters, and now they were mystic class masters. The second way is a good way, but you don't have to worry about running away. I'll let my friend eat it during the test, and when the fruit is gone, the Ice Palace won't be able to find anything without evidence. Lin Yi smiled, but I'm afraid they won't be able to find it. Eat it. Yu Bing's eyes widened in shock. Everyone knew that treasures were good stuff, but even good stuff couldn't be eaten directly. They had to be made into medicinal soup or pills by the family's pharmacist before ingesting them. Eating them directly might not be able to achieve the desired effect. Instead, it would cause the qi in the body to go berserk. He'd never heard of anyone eating raw treasures. Even if they did, they'd only eat it in small pieces, or they'd explode. My friend's situation is different from normal people. This isn't a training treasure. But the situation right now was different. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was confident. Zhang Liju had mentioned that the fruit could be consumed directly, but there were a lot of side effects after ingesting it, such as weak body, short lifespan, inability to practice, and so on. Xiao was about to die, and it was good enough that she was still alive. Why would she care about being sickly and having a short lifespan? Then, where's your friend? Yu Bing asked curiously. She's in the car downstairs, frozen in an ice coffin. I'll bring her with me to the test. Lin Yi said. The only problem is, do I have the right to participate in the test? You all have an invitation, but I don't. The invitation is just a notice, you don't have to have one, Yu Bing shook his head and explained. As long as you have the right. Freelancers who hear about this can join the test as well. There's no special requirement for that. The main purpose of the Ice Palace's test is for the Ice Palace to earn money, and also to get more outer disciples. Earn money? Lin Yi asked. To participate in the Ice Palace's trial, you need to pay a deposit of 100 million, and the deposit is non-refundable. Think about it. There are hundreds of people participating in the Ice Palace's trial. How much money would the Ice Palace earn? Yu Bing smiled. An ancient sect like the Ice Palace doesn't have the time to run a business, but how can they support such a huge business without money? So they use this method to earn money, and become an outer disciple. For people like us, it might seem like a huge benefit, but it's actually just doing odd jobs in the Ice Palace. The core disciples of the Ice Palace have to focus on training, so they don't have time to do chores like boiling water, cooking, and sweeping the floor. It's basically free labor. All they need to do is give them some pointers and give them some pills for training. Ha! So this Ice Palace really has it all planned out. Lin Yi nodded. But there's nothing we can do about this. They don't force people to join the test, and it's just like that. Yu Bing said, you need to pay 100 million deposit if you want to join the test. Is that a problem? I'll think of something for you if there is. That's not a problem. Lin Yi shook his head. Now that Peng Zhan had passed his predicament, it wouldn't be hard to borrow 100 million from him. If not, there were still House Lu and House Wu who were close to him. Alright, one more thing. I think my cousin Yu Shan will be in a team with those two from House Xiao, fighting the outsiders together. Should we be in a team then? Yu Bing invited Lin Yi. No problem. Lin Yi nodded, but we're a bit weaker than them. Your brother Yu Shan is a mystic mid-phase peak, right? How do you know? Yu Bing was surprised. He didn't think that Lin Yi would know Yu Shan's strength, even able to tell that he was close to mystic mid-phase peak. After all, Yu Shan was only mystic mid-phase, not mystic mid-phase peak yet. I can tell. Lin Yi smiled. You're mystic mid-phase peak, and I'm mystic mid-phase peak as well. I've been showing signs of breaking through these few days, but I haven't. Plus, the two from House Zhao are mystic mid-phase peak and mystic late phase. If we were to face each other in the test, we'd be at a disadvantage. I didn't think you'd know the opponent's strength so well, and with such precision. Yu Bing was pleasantly surprised. He knew House Zhao's Zhao Qikuan's strength, but he didn't know the strength of that Zhao Qijiu beside him. He was just about to ask around when Lin Yi found out about it first. School Beauty's Personal Expert 147. Chapter 1474. Chapter 1472. Xiao Ning's Secret. But Zhao Qikuan's follower is actually a mystic late phase. That's not good. Yushan won't let go of any chance to humiliate me. How about this, you go alone? Since your goal is only the fruit, you don't need to get involved with me. I don't want to drag you into this. Yu Bing's heart started pounding after hearing Zhao Qijiu's strength. After all, the difference between him and Lin Yi was too big. Even if Lin Yi really did break through to mystic late phase, he'd just broken through. Compared to someone who'd already broken through, they were at a disadvantage. Plus, there was Yushan, a mystic mid-phase peak. If he were to face Zhao Qikuan, and Lin Yi were to face Zhao Qijiu, with Yushan ambushing them from the side, who could handle that? Ha! But don't worry, I have a trump card. Lin Yi said. Even if it's an earth class, I have a chance to heavily injure him, so don't talk about this anymore. Since we're fated to meet again, we'll still be a team. Are you serious? You can heavily injure an earth class? Yu Bing's eyes went wide. Fuck. Aren't you a little too strong? No wonder Ning likes you, you're a super scion. Let's not talk about that. Lin Yi interrupted Yu Bing. Some things were in the past, and it wasn't easy to start over again. Although it wasn't that easy to forget, and it was even more profound, Lin Yi didn't have the courage to bring it up again. Lin Yi, on the other hand, had found his own happiness. Tang Yun and Xiao Xiao, if he could stay with them for the rest of his life, that would be a kind of happiness. As for other things, there was no need to force it. Between him and the hidden House Yu, there seemed to be enmity from the beginning, and it was impossible to mediate until now, unless Yu Ning's father could let go of the hatred of the secular House Yu and accept Lin Yi. But someone as proud as Lin Yi, even if he went to the hidden House Yu, he might not get along well. This was what Yu Ning wanted. Lin Yi couldn't give it in the past, and he still couldn't give it now. The two of them had grown up in different environments, and Yu Shaochen wasn't a reasonable person either. This meant that the two of them wouldn't end up together. So instead of being disappointed, it was better to have nothing. You don't like Ning? Yu Bing didn't end the topic. So what if I like it? So what if I don't? Lin Yi asked back. If you like it, I can help. Yu Bing said. Help? You're too naive. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Do you think there's a chance of resolving the conflict between me and House Yu? At least you didn't offend the hidden House Yu. Yu Bing said sincerely. If you really want to, I can really work hard. Actually, there are some things that you don't know, but I can feel it from what your father told me. I can also see some problems. Lin Yi sighed. I don't know if you've noticed it, but your House Yu values her more than you do. Yu Bing didn't want to admit it, but he had to admit that Lin Yi's words had hit the nail on the head. Yes, in House Yu, Yu Ning's position. She was more important than him, a direct descendant. The old ancestor of House Yu loved Yu Ning to an extent that it was even more than normal doting. The way his grandfather looked at Yu Ning was like he saw the future of House Yu, the glory of House Yu. But when he looked at him and Yushan, he wouldn't look at Yushan like that, only sternness. I don't know what secret she has, but I feel that she... Before Lin Yi could finish, Yu Bing subconsciously covered Lin Yi's mouth. Shush! Yu Bing jumped in fright, but then he remembered that they were in an inn, not House Yu. This was an inn, not House Yu. He couldn't help but shake his head with a bitter smile. I'm sorry, it's just a reflex. What's wrong? Lin Yi was confused by Yu Bing's actions. Before, I asked my father curiously, just like you, about Ning, but he told me sternly that I'm not allowed to ask or talk about it anymore. Yu Ning is a taboo in House Yu. No one dares to talk about it. Yu Bing shrugged. I subconsciously thought that we were at House Yu, so I was afraid that someone might hear us. So that's how it is. Lin Yi sighed. So, there are some things that we shouldn't think about. But you're not weak now, Yu Bing said. You've actually become a mystic mid-phase peak, and you're about to break through to the late phase. I really didn't expect that. Our house has treasures that can be used to make training pills, but you probably don't have them. I have my own way of training, Lin Yi said. Strength isn't the key is that I just offended your house. Just. Yu Bing paused. This is a qi gathering pill. I got it from someone called Elder Yu. Lin Yi took out a small bottle and put it in front of Yu Bing. Qi gathering pill. Yu Bing's eyes were wide open as he stood up with a whoosh, looking at the bottle in disbelief. Lin Yi's move had shocked him to the point where he couldn't believe it. It wasn't just because it was a Qi gathering pill, but also because he got it from Elder Yu. Yu Bing's face changed. Naturally, he knew what a Qi gathering pill was, and he knew that House Yu had sent Yu Huashing to steal it from the tomb, but he didn't think that the reason why Huashing couldn't find the pill was because it was stolen by Lin Yi. Yu Bing's first thought wasn't on how to get the pill back. Although his father needed it, Yu Bing knew that this was the rule of the martial world. This pill didn't belong to Yu Huashing, it belonged to the Tomb Master, and so it belonged to whoever got it first. It didn't belong to anyone, so there was no way to get it back. What Yu Bing thought of was that Lin Yi trusted him the most. This was a secret that involved House Yu, and Lin Yi was able to tell him so directly. This touched Yu Bing a little. Otherwise, Lin Yi could have just not told him this, and he wouldn't have known. Do you think that the hatred between us can be resolved? Lin Yi looked at Yu Bing's expression and felt gratified. There was no anger, no greed, only shock and helplessness. Lin Yi wasn't wrong about him. Lin Yi wanted to test Yu Bing's character and thought, even if Lin Yi didn't take it out now, if they really couldn't find the fruit in the test, then this Qi gathering pill would become the pill Lin Yi used to exchange for the fruit with the Ice Palace. Chapter 147. School Beauty's Personal Expert. Chapter 1475. Lin Yi couldn't think of anything else he had that could tempt the Ice Palace. One fruit could be bought with money, but the Ice Palace probably wouldn't sell it to Lin Yi, and he'd have to use a Qi gathering pill to exchange for one. At that time, Yu Bing would see the Qi gathering pill as well, and he'd think of what happened to Elder Yu. So instead of letting him suspect, he might as well tell the truth. Of course, Lin Yi didn't know that Elder Yu hid the fact that the pill was stolen from him, and lied that he didn't find it. It's not us, it's you and my father. But it belongs to whoever got it. There's no grudge, Yu Bing said. But you're quite strong. I finally understand why you said you had the confidence to take on an Earth class. Too bad, my father was just one step away from breaking through to Sky class. I was planning to use this pill to exchange for the fruit, so I'm sorry, I can't give it to you. I know how important this is to your family, but I need it too. Lin Yi said. But I left one for Elder Yu. Isn't it for your father? There's someone from House Yu who's breaking through to Sky class? What? You left one for him? Yu Bing paused. You're saying that Elder Yu has another Qi gathering pill with him? Yeah, why you didn't know? Lin Yi looked at Yu Bing strangely. Didn't he tell you? No. Yu Bing took a deep breath, a dark look flashing across his face. It seems like the practitioners from the common world House Yu are not on the same side as us. He's been hiding the pill. Common House Yu? You mean, Elder Yu is from the common House Yu? Could it be Yu Shuixing's big brother? That Earth class? Lin Yi blinked. Yes, it's him. Yu Bing laughed coldly. This time, you don't have to worry. If Yu Huashing really took the pill for himself, then we, the hidden House Yu, wouldn't need to support the common House Yu anymore, and the conflict between you and the hidden House Yu would be resolved. The problem isn't this, it's Xiao Ning herself. Lin Yi didn't want to mention this name, but since things had reached this point, he couldn't avoid it. Your family's expectations of her are too high, and your expectations of me are too low. I don't know if all this can be changed in the future, but at least not now, and I already have a girlfriend. You already have a girlfriend? Yu Bing was shocked. He only paid attention to Lin Yi's recent actions in Songshan, making enemies with so many powerhouses, but he didn't really care about Lin Yi's private life. So when Lin Yi brought it up, Yu Bing's heart sank. He didn't know if his sister would be able to accept this news. But Yu Bing couldn't blame Lin Yi for anything. After all, Lin Yi didn't give his sister any promises back then. It was all her wishful thinking. At first, Yu Bing even thought that his sister had grown up in the family, and hadn't seen much of the world. So when she saw Lin Yi for the first time, she would fall for him. But after returning to the family for a while or meeting other outstanding men, she would forget about Lin Yi. But that wasn't the case. As he interacted with Lin Yi more, Yu Bing realized how amazing Lin Yi was. Especially this time, Yu Bing really admired Lin Yi. He actually dared to do anything, snatching food from the tiger's mouth from an Earth class. Even with Yu Bing's background, he wouldn't dare to do something like this. But Lin Yi did it, and he succeeded. He couldn't compare to this level of skill.
Yes, I have.
Lin Yi nodded. And there's two. Lin Yi didn't try to hide it. His goal was to tell Yu Ning through Yu Bing's mouth. He wanted her to know that not only did he have a girlfriend, but he was also a playboy. People like her would definitely give up. But Lin Yi's goal didn't seem to be achieved. Not only that, but it also made Yu Bing feel relieved. He thought that Lin Yi was a rigid person. But now he realized that he wasn't. Since Lin Yi had two girlfriends, he didn't need his sister. Although it seemed like his sister was at a disadvantage, but if Lin Yi was a rigid person, then he wouldn't be able to lose even if he wanted to. The reason why Yu Bing didn't think it was a big deal was because he was born in a hidden house. In hidden houses, it was normal to have 3 or 4 wives. Unless the wife was very strong and had a strong background, such as a marriage alliance, he would only have one wife. For example, the current head of House Zhao, Zhao Guangyin, only had one wife, Yu Shaojin. But although Zhao Guangyin only had one wife in name, he had an illegitimate child outside. This was no secret. Yu Bing's father also found 2 concubines, but they didn't have any children. Yu Bing was very open about this. He didn't think there was anything wrong with it. There's already 2 of them? Then one more isn't a big deal. Ning should be at ease now. She still has a chance.
Yu Bing smiled.
Ha!
Lin Yi heard Yu Bing's words and almost fainted.
He realized that his words didn't make Yu Bing give up. Instead, it strengthened his confidence. What was the philosophy of the hidden house, Yu? What's wrong?
Yu Bing looked at Lin Yi and didn't understand.
It's nothing.
Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Other than me, what other allies does House Yu have?
House Yu we do.
House Yu is related to the hidden House Zhao by marriage, but the one who came this time isn't the direct grandson of House Zhao. It's Zhao Qikuan. He's with my cousin Yu Shan now. They're obviously forming an alliance. Yu Bing smiled bitterly. Every house has its problems, so other than you, I really don't know who else I can form an alliance with.
Huh.
It's nothing. Let's go out and take a look at the other houses then. Even if we can't form an alliance with them, we can at least form a good relationship with them. If we can't, then we'll let them know how strong we are and make sure they don't mess with us in the test. Lin Yi's goal was simple. If they couldn't be friends, then they shouldn't be enemies. But if there were people who were hostile, then Lin Yi didn't mind teaching them a lesson right now, in case they caused trouble during the test. This was what Zhao Qikuan did back then, but after listening to Yu Bing's words, Lin Yi and Zhao Qikuan couldn't be allies anymore. His instincts told him that House Zhao wouldn't make things difficult for him because of Zhao Qibing. Even if he did, it wouldn't matter. He could tell what he was planning from the way he tried to form an alliance with Yu Shan. Chapter 1476. But this was an internal problem between House Zhao and House Yu. It had nothing to do with Lin Yi. The day of the Ice Palace test was getting closer and closer, so there were more people coming to the inn today. When Lin Yi and Yu Bing left the inn, they saw a few more cars coming from afar, evidently heading towards the inn as well. I wonder which hidden house they are from? Lin Yi stood at the entrance of the inn and looked at the cars from afar. I'm not sure yet, but they might not all be from hidden houses. They might be from sects. Yu Bing shook his head. Yu Bing shook his head. I heard that there are people from the ancient sects participating this time. I wonder if it's true. House Yu's information network was quite fast, especially since the old head of House Yu hadn't gone into isolation yet. Yu Bing knew much more than others. At the very front of the group was a red Porsche Cayenne, evidently not from the same group as the cars behind it. This car was the fastest, and in a blink of an eye, it was not far from Lin Yi. With a beautiful drift, it stopped in the parking lot. I wonder whose brother this is. Is it because he has no experience, or is it because of his flamboyant personality? People like him make enemies easily, Yu Bing said to Lin Yi as he watched the car. They were here to participate in the test, not to act cool. If they did, they might offend other people. After all, everyone's starting point was the same, and their strength was about the same as well. No one was weaker than the other. If he had the strength, then he could be cocky for a bit. But I wonder how strong he is? Lin Yi nodded. As the two spoke, the door of the red Cayenne opened. The one who got out of the car was a cool girl wearing a tight black leather jacket. A girl. Yu Bing paused. Those who came to participate in the test were usually men, and there were very few women. After all, Most of the noble houses valued men more than women. They thought that only men could inherit the family business, and it was rare to see families like House Yu who valued a girl like Yu Ning. However, this test wasn't suitable for Yu Ning, so they sent him and Yu Shan here. Why was she here? When Lin Yi saw the cool girl, his eyes widened. No way. She came too? Could it be that assassins could also participate in this trial? Besides, didn't they have to be mystic class masters to participate? Thinking of this, Lin Yi looked at the cool girl with some doubts. Lin Yi could be sure that there were no fluctuations of true qi in the body of the cool girl. Could it be that she was a physical expert? Yang Qiqi didn't say anything after getting off the car, not even glancing at Lin Yi as she entered the inn. Lin Yi pondered for a moment, but in the end, he did not greet her. From Lin Yi's point of view, this girl didn't even know much about martial arts. If he recruited her into his team, he wouldn't even be able to take care of her, let alone help him and Yu Bing. Therefore, it was best for Lin Yi not to provoke such a person. She looks like a pretty girl. Just a little cold, Yu Bing looked at Yang Qiqi's back as she walked into the inn. Pretty girl is real, just a little troublesome, Lin Yi shrugged and didn't deny it. You know her. Lin Yi's answer surprised Yu Bing. I don't really know her, but I've met her before. She was injured both times, and after I saved her, she said that I saw her body and wanted to kill me. You still want to kill me? Lin Yi said helplessly. Huh. Yu Bing laughed. No way? Then you have no choice but to accept her? It'll be troublesome if I accept her. Lin Yi shook his head. As they were talking, several other cars also arrived. But it was obvious that several cars seemed to be surrounding one car as they drove over. Lin Yi counted. There were 4 cars in total with different license plates. But the Hummer in the middle had a license plate from a city near Songshan. The cars stopped one after another. A few people got off from the other 3 cars and came to the side of the Hummer. They were almost fawning as they fought to open the doors of the Hummer. After a while, 2 legs came out of the Hummer. This is even more pretentious than before. Yu Bing was speechless. But this one has some strength. I know 2 of the people beside the Hummer, and they're from the hidden house. It's an expert from the hidden house of Zhuang. To be able to make them bow and scrape like this person shouldn't be from a hidden house or a normal sect. If I'm not wrong, this person should be from an ancient sect. Ancient sects are here too. Lin Yi was surprised. But, isn't the Ice Palace an ancient sect too? Why are there people from other ancient sects here? As far as I know, ancient sects can join each other's tests as well, but they don't have to pay a high deposit like us. They're here for friendly reasons, just to train their juniors. But the last Ice Palace test didn't have this rule. It was set by another ancient sect. It seems like the Ice Palace is copying them this time, Yu Bing explained. I see. Lin Yi nodded. With the disciples from the ancient sects joining in, the fairness of the test will be clearly skewed. You can see it from their attitude towards the disciples from the ancient sections. Yeah. Yu Bing smiled bitterly. These ancient sect disciples might not be that strong, but they're famous, and some of the hidden house disciples like to suck up to them. This was the first time Nai Peo experienced what it felt like to be a boss. He didn't think that the ancient sect's name would be this popular, especially since he was an inner disciple of the everyday and everyday sect. He was the target of all the hidden house disciples. Although the everyday and everyday sect didn't have a good reputation among the ancient sects and was called a demonic sect, their strength was tyrannical. Especially the old ancestor of the sect. He was in existence at the peak of the late phase of the heaven rank. Ordinary heaven rank powerhouses wouldn't pay attention to him. This was why Nai Peo, who was only a mystic mid-phase peak, had so many hidden house disciples fawning over him. Chapter 1477. He'd once lent a helping hand to Nai Peo in his family's darkest hour. Plus, Lin Yi was Nai Peo's enemy. Thinking back to how he'd been stepped on by Lin Yi back then, Nai Peo felt a wave of humiliation. He was the disciple of the everyday and everyday sect, the one that the sect leader and elder valued the most, and yet he'd been stepped on by Lin Yi, a small fry from the common world. If he didn't get his revenge, he'd feel sorry for his sect. And so, he trained hard day and night, daring to try things that others didn't dare to try. Pain that others couldn't, he could. Poisonous bees, bugs, snakes, weeds. Zhang Nai Peo was willing to do anything for the sake of training. The training methods of the demon sects were different from the other righteous sects. The other righteous sects used qi from heaven and earth for their own use, but the demon sects used all sorts of evil methods to convert poison and evil qi into their own strength. Naipeo's chrysanthemum arts, on the other hand, had already reached the first stage, becoming the fastest practitioner in the sect. There was actually a story behind this chrysanthemum art. It was said that it was passed down from the ancient Qiyu god, but this art was too evil and tyrannical, and was despised by the righteous sects of the Wulin world. They worked together to destroy it. Many years later, a demonic sect suddenly rose up in the martial arts world. It was the Everyday and Everyday sect. This sect used the chrysanthemum treasured book as their sect's treasure. The sect's mental cultivation method was also similar to the chrysanthemum treasured book. It used corpse energy, fresh blood, dead people, and poisonous substances to cultivate.
A sect like this, naturally, would be attacked by other sects, but because of the speed and strength of the practitioners from the Everyday and Everyday sect, in the end, they ended up in a draw.
It was only a draw, and no one could do anything to the other. In this way, they would mind their own business and mind their own business. But for a demon sect like the Everyday and Everyday sect, many ancient sects would stay away from them. But there were exceptions like the Ice Palace. The Ice Palace was a powerful existence even among the ancient sections. The palace master of the Ice Palace was as powerful as the ancestor of the Everyday and Everyday sect. As for the people of the Ice Palace, they were as cold as their name suggested. They treated everyone and anything coldly. Over the years, the Ice Palace he didn't have a good relationship with the other ancient sections. However, he didn't reject the disciples of the other ancient sects who came to participate in the trial. However, the Ice Palace had the right to be indifferent. Even so, the other ancient sects had to welcome the Ice Palace with a smile. Before Naipeo came to the test, his master had already told him that he wouldn't be able to deal with the others. They could pretend to be arrogant to show off the Everyday and Everyday sect's superior status, but they had to welcome the people from the Ice Palace with a smile, because the Ice Palace's strength was no weaker than the Everyday and Everyday sect. However, although the Everyday and Everyday sect had the chrysanthemum treasured book, no one else cultivated it. The reason was that the chrysanthemum grimoire was too evil. If one didn't castrate oneself, one who wasn't resolute enough would be trapped by it and fall into qi deviation. Previously, there were a few disciples who had cultivated it, but all of them died from qi deviation. These disciples were the ones who the elders of the sect had thought to be the most talented, but none of them had succeeded. Only Naipeo didn't even think twice about castrating himself. He castrated himself without thinking. This was something that had never happened before. After all, which one of these disciples wasn't young? Which one of them wanted to become a eunuch? They all wanted to leave the mountain and enjoy the life of women. There was no way they'd do something as stupid as leave the Ice Palace. And so, even if the chrysanthemum treasured book was very strong, it was praised by the elders of the sect as being as powerful as the legendary art of dragon mastery. But very few people practiced this powerful art. The chrysanthemum grimoire had a special characteristic, and that was that it could transform all kinds of evil and poisonous things into demonic energy in one's body. It belonged to the omnipotent mental cultivation method, and was not restricted by any cultivation method. It was unlike the other mental cultivation methods that the other people in the sect practiced, which could only use poisonous grass, poisonous insects, to replenish yang, or blood-sucking and so on. Naipeo, on the other hand, didn't have to do that. He used whatever he had, and even if others didn't, he could use it. This way, he'd have more resources, and his training speed would naturally be faster than others. Naipeo got off the car with everyone around him, putting on his sunglasses. Master Pao is so handsome. Truly a master of the young generation. A disciple from a hidden house said. Of course, Master Pao is from the ancient sect. He's as lucky as the heavens. Another disciple from a hidden house said. Humph, that girl doesn't give face to Master Pao. I think she's tired of living. The one speaking was a disciple from House Zhuang, called Zhuang Niapeo. His name was quite similar to Naipeo's, and so he used this as an excuse to get close to Naipeo. The other disciples from the hidden houses all got to know Naipeo through him. Yeah, Master Pao, do you want us to capture that girl and send her to your room tonight? Another disciple from House Zhuang said, that girl doesn't give face to Master Pao. If we don't teach her a lesson, she won't know who Master Pao is. Master Pao, that girl's pretty. Play with her for a bit. It'll be a warm-up for the test. Another disciple from a small sect said. He was thinking that once Naipeo got bored of her, he'd have a taste of her. After all, he'd have Naipeo, an ancient sect disciple, to back him up.
He wasn't afraid of anything.
No need, I'm not interested in her. Nai Peo waved his hand nonchalantly. People like her who only know how to act cool, will just teach her a lesson during the test. Nai Peo was speaking the truth. He really wasn't interested in Chi-Chi. He was a eunuch, what interest could he possibly have in a girl? But this was a secret. He wouldn't just tell anyone.
I see.
The disciple who suggested said, a little disappointed.
As they spoke, Lin Yi had a look of disbelief on his face.
This was the second familiar face he'd run into after Chi-Chi. He didn't expect to run into Zhang Nai Peo here. Since when did Nai Peo become a practitioner? And he even became a cultivator of an ancient sect? Chapter 1478. This guy sure knows how to act. Even if the ancient sects are strong, there's no need to do this, right? Yu Bing frowned as he watched Nai Peo's actions. Mystic mid-phase peak. Lin Yi was shocked. Nai Peo, who used to be Pin Liang's follower, now had the same strength as him. Although the energy in Nai Peo's body couldn't be considered pure qi, it was still very strong. Looking at it carefully, it felt familiar. Lin Yi seemed to have seen this kind of qi before, but it wasn't complete qi. This qi could increase one's strength, but it was different from normal practitioners. Just like the energy in his own body, it was different from pure qi. But Lin Yi was sure that the qi in Nai Peo's body wasn't his own. It was a type of qi, not an all-purpose energy. As for which type it was, Lin Yi couldn't be sure. Mystic mid-phase peak? Yu Bing paused. This strength isn't much in the ancient sects, right? I thought he was mystic late-phase peak.
Ha! But did you know?
2 months ago, he was still a normal person. Lin Yi smiled bitterly, finding it hard to believe.
What?
2 months ago? He was still a normal person?
Yu Bing's eyes were wide open. How is that possible?
He's my classmate. Do you think it's possible? Lin Yi was helpless as well. Ancient sects are that strong? How can they allow a normal person to increase their strength so quickly? Ancient sects, it doesn't mean that they are sects that have existed since the ancient times, but the mental cultivation methods they cultivate are mostly passed down from the ancient times. These inner force mental cultivation methods are very powerful, much more powerful than the mental cultivation methods that we, the hidden aristocratic families, and the aristocratic families, cultivate. So it's not impossible, Yu Bing explained. It's just that we don't know about it. To be honest, I'm shocked as well, but remembering that he's from an ancient sect, it makes sense. At that moment, Nai Peo and the others were already walking towards the entrance of the inn. Nai Peo, on the other hand, saw Lin Yi and Yu Bing at the side of the entrance. At that moment, Nai Peo stopped, his eyes filled with shock as he stared at Lin Yi's face. Naturally, he ignored Yu Bing, who was beside him. Who was Yu Bing, and what did he do? To Nai Peo, that wasn't important. The important thing was, why was Lin Yi here?
Yes.
Liang Bro had said that Lin Yi was already a mystic when he visited him last time, so it was normal for him to join the Ice Palace test. As for which house or sect he belonged to, that was something Nai Peo didn't need to know. He only needed to know that he was from the Everyday and Everyday sect, one of the top sect in the ancient sects. It didn't matter if Lin Yi was from a hidden house or a small sect. None of that mattered. Their statuses were no longer equal. Even if he killed Lin Yi in front of everyone here, no one would dare speak up for him, no one would dare stand up for him. Going against him was the same as going against the entire Everyday and Everyday sect. Lin Yi's eyes met with Nai Peo's. Their eyes met. There were no sparks. In Nai Peo's heart, he hated Lin Yi, but with his current status, he had enough power to take care of Lin Yi. There was no need for him to get angry. His heart was filled with disdain. Lin Yi, on the other hand, he was shocked at how fast Nai Peo leveled up, but as far as Lin Yi was concerned, he was still the same Nai Peo that he could step on whenever he wanted. A mystic mid-phase peak, the same as him. It sounded like they were on par. But Lin Yi had a trump card that could even take on an Earth class. Why would he be afraid of someone on the same level as him? So in Lin Yi's heart, there wasn't even disdain, only indifference. The two didn't say anything, and just stared at each other. The people around Nai Peo were confused by his actions. Master Pao, what's wrong? I saw an old acquaintance. I'll go greet him. Nai Peo said faintly. Although he could have anyone around him help him against Lin Yi, he didn't do that. How could he show off his power like that? One day, He would step on Lin Yi with his own hands. This was his promise to Pin Liang, and he had to keep it. Zhuang Niapeo paused. He could tell that Niapeo's words were a little weird, but he didn't know what Niapeo meant. He could only follow behind Niapeo towards Lin Yi, not daring to make a decision himself. Isn't this Lin Yi, Boss Lin? What are you doing here instead of showing off in school? Niapeo looked at Lin Yi and said mockingly, "This isn't a place you should be, it's very dangerous, and you could die at any moment." Mystic mid-phase peak? Sounds strong. Lin Yi said as he looked at Niapeo. Niapeo was taken aback by the fact that Lin Yi was able to point out his strength. From Lin Yi's tone, it seemed like he didn't care. Could it be that he was an even stronger master? With that thought, Niapeo raised his guard. But that wasn't right. This Ice Palace test had a clear strength limitation. One had to be a mystic, which meant that even if you were Golden Class late phase peak, you couldn't participate even if you were about to break through. At the same time, even if you just broke through to Earth Class a minute ago, you couldn't participate either. So Lin Yi was definitely a mystic as well. As for what level, Niapeo didn't care, because he had a trump card. As long as the opponent wasn't beyond mystic, he had confidence that he could win. Even if it was an Earth Class early phase, he would be able to put up a fight. He might get injured, but it was more than enough to stay alive. This was also why Niapeo was valued by the elders of the sect. It had been many years since there was a disciple as hardworking and brave as Niapeo in the sect. Strong or not, you'll know once you try. Niapeo smiled coldly. But too bad that Liang bro isn't here. He'd be able to see how I kill you. It'd be very satisfying. You haven't forgotten about Pin Liang's revenge, have you? Lin Yi couldn't help but smile. No matter how strong you are, you're still Pin Liang's dog. Dog or follower, it doesn't matter. Lin Yi, I'll let you live today, and I'll kill you the next time I see Liang bro. You may be spared from death today, but you can't escape punishment. Niapeo suddenly sent a palm towards Lin Yi. Chapter 1479. Lin Yi didn't think that Niapeo would make the first move here, but Lin Yi had no reason to dodge. Since that was the case, he might as well teach Niapeo a lesson. Killing Niapeo, on the other hand, was something Lin Yi didn't think about, at least not here. Lin Yi's goal here was to find the fruit for Xiaoxiao, and the Ice Palace's trial was probably the only way for him to get it. He didn't want to cause any problems before the trial started, in case the Ice Palace used him killing Zhang Niapeo as an excuse to reject him from the trial. It wouldn't be worth it if the Ice Palace used him killing Zhang Niapeo as an excuse. The current Lin Yi was no match for the Ice Palace at all. So, even if he wanted to kill Niapeo, it would be during the test, not now. Seeing Niapeo's palm coming at him, Lin Yi didn't dodge at all. He quickly channeled the art of dragon mastery and met Niapeo's palm head-on. The two palms collided, and a crisp pang sound was heard. The Zhuang brothers beside Niapeo, as well as the other disciples of the hidden houses, all cheered excitedly when they saw Niapeo's attack. Master Pao is invincible. Master Pao is invincible, unparalleled. Master Pao rules the world, unifying the world. The cheers came one after another, and on Lin Yi's side, Yu Bing was frowning, worried for Lin Yi. After all, Niapeo's title as an ancient sect worried Yu Bing. The ancient sects were even stronger than the hidden houses. Even if House Yu had 2 sky-class masters, they wouldn't dare say they were on par with the ancient sections. Even the weakest ancient sects had sky-class late-phase peak masters in their ranks. It wasn't something the hidden House Yu could compare with. Hearing the cheers from Niapeo's followers, Yu Bing was even more worried. After all, these people might know Niapeo's strength, otherwise they wouldn't have such high hopes for him. This wasn't cheering at all. It was blind flattery. Qi flowed through Lin Yi's palms towards Niapeo, but Lin Yi didn't feel Niapeo's qi retaliate at all. Niapeo didn't get blown away like the others, instead looking at her with a smile on his face. What was going on? Lin Yi vaguely felt that something was wrong. Why did his palm feel like it was hitting cotton? There was no effect at all when he used his true qi? Could it be that this Zhang Niapeo knew some sort of defensive arts? Thinking of this, Lin Yi hurriedly increased the strength of his true qi. In order to test Niapeo's strength, as well as not wanting to kill him in one hit, Lin Yi only used around 50% of his true qi. But now, Lin Yi increased his true qi to 100%. Ha 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 ha. Niapeo wasn't affected at all, but started laughing instead. Lin Yi's heart sank. Strange. The kung fu of the ancient sects was indeed powerful. The people from the aristocratic families and the hidden aristocratic families. They weren't on the same level at all. Just one Zhang Naipeo was already this strong, and it made Lin Yi feel like he couldn't do anything about it. Lin Yi didn't want to keep fighting, and decided to dodge first before looking for an opening. After making up his mind, Lin Yi quickly stopped his true chi and stopped his arts. He wanted to pull his palm away from Naipeo, but the next moment, something strange happened. To Lin Yi's shock, his palm seemed to have been sucked into Naipeo's palm. He couldn't pull it away no matter how hard he tried. And this wasn't the worst. What shocked Lin Yi even more was yet to come. He'd stopped channeling the art of dragon mastery, but the energy in his body was still flowing through his palms into Naipeo's body. The art of dragon mastery, on the other hand, was operating on its own. What kind of demonic practitioner's arts is this? Lin Yi looked at Naipeo shocked. Lin Yi felt like he couldn't control this feeling. Just like that time when he transferred his true chi into Xiaoxiao. He was the one who initiated the art of dragon mastery, but then it was forced to circulate on its own, and the true chi in his body was leaking out. Ha 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 ha. This is an evil arts, called the chrysanthemum art of wasp absorption. What do you think? You've never heard of it, have you? Naipeo looked at the shocked look on Lin Yi's face and started laughing heartily. Just as he expected, all of Lin Yi's strength was absorbed by him. And this was Naipeo's trump card. Naipeo's chrysanthemum art was an all-purpose energy conversion art, able to convert all the energy in the outside world into his own demonic chi for his own use. Poisonous bees, poisonous bugs, poisonous water, all sorts of powerful poisons could be used, and the true chi that other people work so hard to cultivate could be used by him as well. This was also the evil part of this true chi. As long as the opponent was Naipeo's level or lower, they could use it. And now, Naipeo was a mystic, which meant that as long as the opponent was a golden or mystic spiritual practitioner, he could use the chrysanthemum art of wasp absorption on them. It didn't matter if they were mystic early phase or late phase peak, as long as they weren't earth class, he could kill them all. Even if it was an earth class early phase, Zhang Naipeo could risk getting injured just to absorb some of the chi from the opponent. This was what made him so powerful, and the disciples of the hidden houses and sects who followed him were all fawning over him after seeing his strength. Otherwise, even if it was an ancient sect, it would be normal for them to befriend them, but there was no need for them to fawn over him like this. On the road, a hidden house practitioner who thought he was a mystic late phase peak blocked Naipeo's path, and so Naipeo used him as a practice target without hesitation. Naipeo knew how powerful this chrysanthemum art of wasp absorption was, but this was a sect, after all, and he couldn't use a fellow disciple as a practice target. And this unlucky mystic late phase peak from a hidden house just happened to be the one who got sucked dry, losing all of his strength. Naturally, there weren't many people watching the fight between Naipeo and this mystic late phase peak, and they saw how vicious Naipeo was. Chapter 1480. And because of that, Zhang Naipeo's name started to spread, and the disciples of the other hidden houses and sects all came to get close to him. One reason was because of the halo of an ancient sect, and the other was that Naipeo himself was very strong. That was why these people were doing this. The chrysanthemum arts that Naipeo was talking about was something that Lin Yi had never heard of before. He didn't know what it was, but it was true that Naipeo could absorb his chi. Even if Lin Yi stopped his arts, it wouldn't help. The chi was still flowing out of his body. No wonder your strength grew so fast. Lin Yi's eyes flashed coldly. Naipeo was too scary, using such a dominating arts. This put a lot of pressure on Lin Yi. How should he deal with him? Lin Yi realized that he couldn't do anything to Naipeo at this point. He couldn't move his hand, and the chi in his body was draining rapidly as well. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before all his chi would go to Naipeo's side, and he'd become a normal person with no strength at all. Lin Yi had lost his strength many times before, and he wasn't afraid of it. As long as his meridians weren't broken, he had the jade space as his golden finger, and it would only take a night for him to recover his strength. But the problem was, wouldn't it be the same if he fought Naipeo again after he recovered? He'd be giving his chi to Naipeo for nothing. How's that? Shocked, right? Jealous. Hateful? It's no use, I'm from an ancient sect, and you're just a normal practitioner, Naipeo said happily as he looked at Lin Yi's face. My starting point is higher than yours, and my practitioner's arts are better than yours as well. My practitioner's arts are much better than yours too. Ha ha ha, Lin Yi. I sucked dry a mystic late phase peak's chi on the road, and I'm already showing signs of breaking through. Maybe I'll be able to break through after I suck dry your strength. Ha 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 ha. I didn't think that I would be able to become a mystic late phase master even before the trial. Lin Yi didn't say anything as he looked at Nai Peo's smug face. There was no point in saying anything at this point. Lin Yi hadn't found a way to deal with him yet. In other words, he hadn't found Nai Peo's weakness yet, so there was no point in saying anything. However, Lin Yi was unwilling. It hadn't been long, and he'd already lost half of his qi. If this continued, he'd really be sucked dry by Nai Peo. Lin Yi hesitated for a moment. He raised his leg and kicked at Nai Peo's crotch. Lin Yi's plan was to catch Nai Peo off guard, and when he was focused on absorbing his qi, he'd give him a kick that would heavily injure him and interrupt the chrysanthemum arts. Lin Yi would then use this opportunity to retract his palm. Bang! Lin Yi's leg hit Nai Peo's crotch. But it didn't feel like he'd kicked anything. It didn't feel like he'd expected. You still dare to ambush me? Nai Peo didn't think that Lin Yi would dare ambush him in a situation like this, but he didn't care. He laughed loudly. Perfect, thank you. One palm is too slow. I'll use your leg then. As soon as he finished his words, Lin Yi realized to his shock that he couldn't move his foot away from Nai Peo's crotch. The qi in his body was being transferred to Nai Peo from his foot. Your other body parts can absorb qi as well? Lin Yi paused. You know. But it's too late. Nai Peo said. So, ambushing me is useless. Ha 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 ha, Lin Yi. You can only watch as you become a cripple. There's no other choice. How is it? Isn't it painful? You're about to become a normal person, and all the qi you've worked so hard for will be sucked away by me, turning into the demon qi in my body for my use. Of course, Nai Peo didn't know that Lin Yi would be able to recover. Normal people wouldn't be able to recover in a short period of time. They'd basically become a cripple. How much effort would it take to start from scratch? How many treasures and herbs would he need? Demon qi? You're not training qi? Lin Yi realized after hearing the words, it really wasn't qi in Nai Peo's body. No wonder Lin Yi felt that he was different from other people. It's also a type of qi, and the strength is the same as qi as well. It's just that the element is different. Nai Peo wasn't impatient at all as he explained it to Lin Yi. As far as he was concerned, Lin Yi was about to become a cripple, so he might as well let him know before he died. I see, Lin Yi nodded. You're very strong this time, I admit defeat. Lin Yi had no choice but to admit defeat. He didn't want to, but it was the truth, and Lin Yi couldn't deny it. After all, Lin Yi still hadn't found any weaknesses in Nai Peo. Lin Yi had thought that since Nai Peo's palm could absorb qi, he'd try to avoid contact with it after he recovered, and attack other parts of his body instead. But that plan was ruined after Lin Yi's kick. Haha, this time? You think there's a next time? Next time, it'll be your death day. Nai Peo laughed. As the hidden house disciples around Nai Peo cheered, Yu Bing, on the other hand, was panicking. He'd wanted to join forces with Lin Yi against Nai Peo, but after hearing the conversation between Nai Peo and Lin Yi, he hesitated. Nai Peo was a monster, and even if Yu Bing attacked, it wouldn't be of much use. He could absorb other people's qi, and even if he went up, he wouldn't be able to escape the fate of being absorbed. So Yu Bing didn't dare attack rashly. Plus, Lin Yi had secretly hinted at him with his eyes, telling him not to act rashly. But, if it really was as Nai Peo said, and Lin Yi was crippled and turned into a normal person, then Lin Yi wouldn't be able to participate in this test anymore. What would happen to his friends then? Wouldn't it be impossible for them to get the fruit? With that thought, Yu Bing made up his mind. If Lin Yi really was crippled and turned into a normal person, then he'd help Lin Yi find the fruit and give it to Lin Yi. Chapter 1481. Yes. Zhuang Niapeo and the other disciples from the hidden houses and sects didn't care about Lin Yi anymore. They all ran to Zhang Naipeo's side and surrounded him, protecting him. Zhang Naipeo sat on the ground, and a strong energy whirlpool formed around him, circling above his head. The demonic energy in his body moved the energy around him and gathered it together. It seemed like he was about to break through. As for Lin Yi, the disciples from the hidden houses and sects, as well as Zhang Naipeo, didn't even look at him. In their eyes, Lin Yi was the same as that mystic late-phase peak master who was showing off on the road, a cripple. They didn't even want to think about this cripple, let alone look at him. Lin Yi's qi was sucked dry, and he fell to the ground. Right now, Lin Yi was even weaker than a normal person. After all, normal people still had energy in their body, but Lin Yi had none at all. How are you? Yu Bing looked at Zhang Naipeo and the others not far away and asked Lin Yi anxiously. It's nothing. Help me back to my room. Lin Yi couldn't help but smile bitterly as he looked at Naipeo. This was the best time to deal with Zhang Naipeo. He was in the middle of breaking through, and his defense was the weakest. If he were to attack him now, he would be heavily injured. However, his followers were guarding him from the side, giving Lin Yi no chance at all. If Lin Yi was at his peak, he could use an energy bomb to kill all of them and then deal with Zhang Naipeo. But now, Lin Yi had no energy in his body at all. Where would he go to get an energy bomb? And Yu Bing wasn't a match for a group of mystic class masters. Letting him go would be suicide. So Lin Yi could only return to his room helplessly and think of a plan after recovering his strength. We're teammates, but I can't take revenge for you, Yu Bing said with a little sadness and guilt as he looked at Lin Yi. He was indignant because he was helpless. He had no way to avenge Lin Yi. He felt guilty because on one hand, Lin Yi was his former teammate, friend, and also his current teammate. On the other hand, it was because of Xiao Ning. If Xiao Ning knew about this, if he became a normal person and lost his strength, then the gap between him and Ning and the hidden house would only get bigger and bigger. His father, Yu Shaochen, would never allow Ning to marry a normal person. Even his grandpa wouldn't agree to it, let alone his father. It's nothing. Revenge must be taken. I'll do it myself. Lin Yi smiled and said, You don't need to have any psychological burden. But you look like this. How can you take revenge? Yu Bing smiled bitterly. Forget it. I'll help you back first. Under the disregard, Yu Bing helped Lin Yi to the entrance of the inn. This scene was witnessed by the owner of the inn, but he didn't stop them. He didn't say anything. He was from the Ice Palace as well, but the test hadn't started yet. The Ice Palace didn't need to be responsible for the safety of the participants, so he didn't need to interfere. Yu Bing helped Lin Yi back to his room and said hurriedly, What do I do? What should I do now? Do you need any treasures? Tell me, I have a certain status in House Yu. Plus Xiao Ning, as long as House Yu has what you want, I can get it for you. No need. Lin Yi smiled gratefully. Why do you need to go through so much trouble? You can go back. I'll rest for a bit. Then. All right. Don't worry too much. You don't have your strength anymore. We can train again. With me and Xiao Ning supporting you secretly, you'll have a lot of treasures to make. Yu Bing consoled. He thought that Lin Yi was just comforting him. After all, he had lost all his strength, and to recover it would be as hard as reaching the heavens. This was the strength he had accumulated since he was young. It wasn't something that could be achieved in a day. But Lin Yi wasn't in a good mood right now, so he didn't want to talk too much. He needed some peace and quiet. Thank you. Lin Yi nodded to Yu Bing with a smile. After Yu Bing left, Lin Yi quickly entered the Jade Space and started channeling the art of dragon mastery. The energy in the Jade Space surged into Lin Yi's body like crazy. Lin Yi was already used to this. As long as his meridians weren't damaged, recovering his strength and energy was only a matter of time. In Yu Bing's room, Yu Bing was holding the satellite phone in his hand with a bitter face. He didn't know if he should tell his sister about Lin Yi's injury, but if he didn't tell her, then he wouldn't be able to continue with his plan. He had to work with his sister, otherwise with his position in House Yu, he wouldn't be able to get that many treasures. With that thought, Yu Bing picked up the phone and called his sister's number. He didn't call the house phone, but the cell phone, afraid that someone would hear the call. Hello? Big brother? Yu Ning picked up her phone strangely. When her brother participated in the trial, he would usually call home to report that he was safe and sound. Finally, he would look for her to say a few words. Why did he directly call her today? According to his calculations, today should be the day her brother arrived at Snowtown. Shouldn't he call home to report that he was safe? In fact, Yu Bing did want to call home to report that he was safe, but he met Lin Yi first, so he didn't have the time to do so. Now that something like this happened to Lin Yi, how could Yu Bing be in the mood to report that he was safe? He had to call his sister quickly to discuss a plan. If he could get his hands on some of the house's soul-gathering pills, that would be the best. The so-called soul-gathering pill was similar to the chi-gathering pill, but it was much less effective. The soul gathering pill was a spiritual medicine for those below the mystic class to quickly increase their strength, but it wasn't that useful once they reached the mystic class. Back then, Yu Bing had to use a lot of soul gathering pills to break through to the mystic class, but although it was a lower level than the qi gathering pill, it was still expensive to make. Two of the family's medicine masters spent a lot of effort to make it. To be continued. High-speed text. Chapter 1482. In addition, the success rate was extremely low. The reason why it was called a pill was because these two people were only medicine masters, not alchemists. They could only mix herbs into pills, but they couldn't make them into pills.
It's me.
Yu Bing smiled bitterly. Originally, he was going to tell Yu Ning the good news because he saw Lin Yi today. He believed that Yu Ning would be very happy after hearing the news. But, now that the good news had turned into bad news, it was hard for him to explain it to his sister. After all, Lin Yi was injured in front of him, but he couldn't do anything. What's wrong, big brother? From your voice, you don't sound too happy? Yu Ning asked curiously.
There's bad news.
Sis, after I finish, you have to hold on. Yu Bing hesitated.
What news?
Why are you saying it so scary? Big brother, what happened? After Yu Ning heard it, her heart was nervous for no reason. Did you encounter any trouble?
It's not me.
Sis, do you know who I met in the inn in Snowtown?
Yu Bing smiled bitterly.
Who?
Yu Ning paused and asked.
Lin Yi.
Yu Bing said.
What?
Did you see him?
Yu Ning was surprised and happy. You met him?
He also went to participate in the test. No, you told me before, there was bad news. Is it about him? Yu Ning's heart subconsciously trembled. Could it be that something really happened to him?
Yes.
Yu Bing had called to tell Yu Ning the truth, so instead of stuttering, he might as well tell her the truth, and so he paused for a moment. After organizing his words, he told the whole story in detail to Yu Ning.
What?
He lost all his strength. The opponent is a disciple of an ancient sect. Yu Ning was shocked after listening. She didn't blame her brother, because as a member of the hidden house Yu, she knew what it meant to be an ancient sect. She also knew that if the opponent was as strong as her brother said, then even if her brother took action, it would be useless. In this situation, he chose to endure it for now. It was right. After all, this wasn't the time to be impulsive.
Yes.
I'm really sorry, little sister. I can't do anything. Yu Bing smiled bitterly. I carry father's hope, as well as House Yu's hope. I can't lose all my strength.
I understand, but
Yu Ning shook her head. She understood what her brother was thinking and naturally wouldn't say anything about it. When I heard that he was already a mystic mid-phase peak, I was very happy.
But in the blink of an eye, he lost all his strength.
This is also the reason why I called you. I wanted to hide it from you, not letting you know. I didn't want you to be sad. Yu Bing said. I need your help. If I want Lin Yi to recover his strength, I need a large amount of cultivation elixirs, such as spirit gathering pills. House Yu can provide it, but the resources I can get are limited. You'll have to do the rest.
But
I'm not a cultivator. I've never asked for things like elixirs. Yu Ning paused. She felt that what Yu Bing said was feasible. If she could help Lin Yi recover his strength, she was willing to do anything. She would never forget what had happened on that Valentine's Day night. Her heart was tied to Lin Yi. However, Yu Ning wasn't an impulsive person. She knew her own situation. If she went to her house and asked for elixirs, the house would definitely be suspicious. Then the family would definitely be suspicious, so he had to be skillful. So we need to think of a way. But this happened so suddenly, I don't have any good ideas yet. Yu Bing smiled bitterly. I'm just telling you first, you should think about it too. All right, I'll think about it later. Yu Ning didn't dare to neglect Lin Yi's situation. She quickly nodded. All right, that's all for now. Don't let others know. I'll call home now to tell them that I'm safe. Yu Bing sighed. Although he felt bad, he still had to call home to tell them that he was safe.
And, brother.
Yu Ning hesitated. What's wrong? Is there anything else? Yu Bing was about to hang up when he heard Yu Ning calling him. Can I talk to him? Yu Ning mustered up her courage and asked. Tomorrow. I'll try to talk to him. Right now he's resting in his room. I think he doesn't want others to know about this, so let's not disturb him? Yu Bing said. That's good too. Yu Ning nodded. She understood Lin Yi's current mood.
No matter who it was, they would be unhappy if they lost their strength. But brother, help me tell him that no matter what, I will help him.
Please believe me, I can do it. Even if I can't do it now. When? I will definitely be able to help him. Tell him not to give up on himself. Yu Ning was so excited that she almost said that she could inherit the cultivation from the ancient ruins. However, this was a top secret in House Yu. Other than Yu Ning, only the old ancestor and Yu Xiaochen knew about it. Even Yu Yi didn't know much about it. I understand. Yu Bing didn't ask anymore. He knew that his sister had a big secret. A secret that could revitalize House Yu. But since his father didn't want him to know, he didn't need to ask. That would only make things difficult for his sister. After all, this wasn't as simple as a brother-sister relationship. It was a violation of House Yu's rules. Yu Bing knew the severity of this. After calling his family to let them know that he was safe, Yu Bing didn't have the mood to talk to other people anymore. He laid on his bed and went to bed early. He couldn't sleep, and his mind was a mess, but he didn't want to do anything else. Zhao Qikuan, Zhao Qijiu, and Yu Shan had just finished eating and were walking back to the inn. It was already 3 a.m, and they were clearly drinking to their heart's content. They were all very happy. However, the 3 of them were half a step slower. In front of them, there was another person, an ally that they had just recruited. But this ally's identity was definitely not simple. Otherwise, even Yu Shan, who came from the head of the hidden houses, wouldn't be so respectful. Nitian bro, with you joining us, our team will definitely get a heaven-defying result in this test. Zhao Qikuan was very excited. He actually had a connection with an ancient noble house. The benefits of this was self-explanatory. To be continued. High-speed text. Chapter 1483. One had to know that the ancient noble houses and ancient sects had the same status. They were 1 level higher than the hidden houses and normal sects, and this young man in front of him was from the ancient noble house Feng Nitian. His name was Domineering, but he had the right to be domineering. With him in the team, Qikuan believed that he and Yu Shan would be able to pass the Ice Palace test without a hitch. You can't say that. There are other ancient sects and ancient noble houses participating in the test. I'm not the only one. Nitian might have said that, but he didn't look humble at all. It was obvious that he had accepted Yu Shan's words. But, we're all at the same level as the ancients, we'll give each other some face. That's right, that's right. Not to be outdone, Yu Shan said. Big Bro Nitian's face is definitely bigger than ours. To have Big Bro Nitian join our team is the honor of 3 lifetimes. This time, if anyone doesn't like it, Nitian Bro will kill them with his arts. Qikuan couldn't help but admire the words arts. Arts that defied the heavens, this was something that defied the heavens. Before, Feng Nitian had only shown a little of his skills, and it was enough to make Qikuan, Qijiu, and Yu Shan submit to him. Even if Nitian was from the ancient Feng house, Qikuan and the others wouldn't need to be so polite to him. They weren't on the same level, and it was fine to be respectful, but there was no need to be too polite. Nitian was just a disciple here to participate in the test. He wouldn't be able to do anything for their families, so they were completely shocked by his performance. The level of the ancient sects and ancient aristocratic families was indeed very powerful. Hidden noble houses. They weren't even on the same level. Arts that defied the heavens were indeed very strong. Feng Nitian's arts were very strange. He could create a small field around him, and the people in this field wouldn't be able to move at all. Although the area was small, and the time limit was very short, Feng Nitian couldn't move at all. Nitian was at the 3rd level, and he could only restrict people's movements for around 3 minutes, and the effective range was only around 3 meters, but that was more than enough. Think about it, even a supermaster wouldn't be able to move. Being locked in place and unable to move, wasn't that equivalent to sitting on the ground and waiting for death? This meant that Feng Nitian's arts were extremely powerful. Of course, in the Feng clan, besides the Feng clan's ancestor, only he had successfully cultivated this miraculous mental cultivation method. There were many requirements for cultivating this mental cultivation method. It was not something that ordinary people could achieve. As a result, Feng Nitian was highly regarded in the family. Other than training, he also wanted to make a name for himself. If he passed the test, his name would be even more famous in the house.
in order to make preparations for him to smoothly become the young patriarch.
After Nitian became the young master, the position of the head of the house would naturally fall into his father's hands. His uncle, who had the advantage now, would be kicked out of the competition. Of course, even if Feng Nitian didn't participate in this test, he would still be able to participate because of the Feng old ancestors' love for him. With his own cultivation, he could still become the head of the house, but he wouldn't have any outstanding achievements. The process would be slow, and Feng Nitian didn't want to wait any longer. The more he looked at his uncle and his honest brother, the more he didn't like them.
Therefore, as long as he could successfully pass this trial and become one of the top 3, he would be able to win some heavenly treasures for his family.
Although the ancient Feng family didn't lack heavenly treasures, what he wanted was the honor, not the items. As for taking in a few followers to run errands for him, Feng Nitian, naturally, didn't mind sharing some of the merits with them. As far as Feng Nitian was concerned, as long as he used his heaven-defying arts on the test field, wouldn't he be able to do whatever he wanted? He would be able to hurt them if he wanted to. He would be able to steal their points if he wanted to. Getting the first place in the test was as easy as flipping his hand. Every time I use the heaven-defying arts, it consumes a large amount of qi. I can't use it as I please. I can only use it 3 to 5 times.
Feng Nitian waved his hand. So don't just sit around and enjoy the fruits of others' labor.
In fact, with his current strength, he could only use it 3 times at most. 5 times was basically impossible. But Feng Nitian was just bragging. That's more than enough. We'll see who gets the most points then, and we'll use it if we can't win. Nitian bro, please go out and use your heaven-defying arts against him. Yushan said. That works too. It's also a form of training for you guys. Otherwise, I'll just attack and there'll be no point in the test anymore, Feng Nitian said, acting cool. Of course. Chikuan and Yushan nodded. The 4 returned to the inn and saw 6 people sitting in front of the door. 5 of them were surrounding one person, as if they were meditating. What are they doing? Feng Nitian frowned and pointed at Zhang Naipeo. I don't know, Nitian bro, I'll go ask? Yushan asked. All right, go ahead and ask. Feng Nitian nodded. The qi here is thicker than other places, but it's not like they're training out in the open. Isn't it the same in the inn? Oi, you guys, what are you doing? With Feng Nitian's support, Yushan's arrogance was revealed, and he wasn't as restrained as before. Zhuang Nipao and the others were focused on guarding when someone walked over and shouted, and they jumped up in fright. Although they were furious, they didn't want to disturb Master Pao's training, so they didn't say anything. Fuck, I'm talking to you guys, are you deaf? Can't you hear me? Yushan saw that these people were ignoring him and was pissed. Open your dog eyes and look, this is Nitian bro from the ancient noble house Feng, why aren't you guys bowing to him? Seeing how arrogant this person was, Zhuang Nipao and Zhuang Niaoqiang couldn't sit still anymore. They wanted to stand up and teach this guy a lesson, but before they could stand up, they heard what he said. What? Someone from the ancient Feng family? Zhuang Nipao was about to stand up and beat him up, but he quickly stood up and explained, I'm sorry, the disciple of the ancient sect everyday sect, Master Pao, is training here, and we're here to guard him. Although they had Zhang Naipeo's support, they couldn't afford to offend an ancient noble house. To be continued. High-speed text. Chapter 1484. School Beauty's Personal Expert 1482. School Beauty's Personal Expert Chapter 1482. Late Phase Mystic Class. Late Phase. If it was a disciple from a normal hidden family, they would not have given a damn about it. However, an ancient family was different. They were as powerful as an ancient sect. High-quality text first, all above. They couldn't be disrespected. What? There's someone from an ancient sect training here? Feng Nitian was taken aback as well. He didn't know that the person in the middle was from an ancient sect, but now that he knew, naturally he wouldn't disturb him anymore. His purpose for coming out this time was to get on the good side of the disciples from other ancient sects and ancient houses, so that he could compete for the position of the head of his house in the future. So after Feng Nitian heard that there was someone from an ancient sect training here, he quickly said, Then I'm sorry for disturbing you. When this brother is done with his training, please tell him that Feng Nitian of the ancient house Feng will come to him personally to apologize. No problem, Nitian bro. Zhuang Niapeo quickly nodded. Although this person said that he would come and apologize, it was just polite words. Xianxia still knew how to differentiate between good and bad. What's going on? Why is he training here? Feng Nitian was a bit weird. An ancient sect shouldn't lack places to train. Why would he suddenly train in front of an inn in the middle of the night? Xianxia didn't dare to hide anything and told him everything that happened. And when Lin Yi's name was mentioned, Zhao Qikuan naturally heard it as Ling Yi. The two names were very similar, so he thought that Xianxia couldn't pronounce the words properly. What? Ling Yi is crippled? Zhao Qikuan froze, thinking that it was a waste to try and recruit him. If he knew that he had an ancient sect as his enemy, he wouldn't have wasted his effort. However, when Yushan heard the news, high-quality text first, all in %. This time, his big brother was really happy. The ally he just recruited was crippled. Haha, he must be very happy, right? Yu Bing, let's see how you're going to compete with me this time. I have Feng Nitian of the ancient house Feng as my support. What do you have? Your only ally is crippled. Just wait to be eliminated this time. 5 years later, when I return from my studies, the future head of house you will be me. You're nothing in front of me. I see. Nitian nodded. He didn't show it on the surface, but he was incomparably shocked in his heart. He originally thought that his mental cultivation method was heaven-defying enough, but he didn't expect that the person in front of him was even more heaven-defying than him, to actually be able to absorb the true chi of others. This was simply too terrifying, right? Of course, Naipeo was very strong in the eyes of Qikuan and the others as well. Feng Nitian's kung fu was just as strong, and both of them were from the ancient world. They couldn't please both of them at the same time, and now that they had a good relationship with Feng Nitian, Zhang Naipeo couldn't be fawning on him anymore. Then I won't disturb Brother Naipeo's training any longer. Nitian will take his leave. Nitian said politely and left with Qikuan and Yushan, heading towards the inn. 5 o'clock in the morning. Suddenly, the heaven and earth spiritual chi in the air above the inn became denser and denser. Any experienced cultivator would know that this was a sign that someone was about to break through. He couldn't sense it from far away, but he could still clearly sense it if it was close by. I'm about to break through. Everyone stay alert. Xianxia yelled to the others who were protecting Naipeo. Yes. Everyone quickly answered and prepared for battle. Inside the inn, in Nitian's room, Qikuan and Yushan were talking to him when Nitian suddenly stopped and walked to the window. The one down there, is he about to break through? After Nitian finished his sentence, Nitian's eyes widened. Only then did Qikuan and Yushan feel that the energy around them had thickened. They didn't notice it before, but they were disciples of a hidden noble house, and they were weaker than Nitian, who came from an ancient noble house. They weren't as sensitive as him. Boom! Nitian's words had just landed when the energy of heaven and earth gathered together in the square below the inn before exploding and dispersing rapidly. Mystic late phase. He actually broke through to mystic late phase. What an overbearing art. Nitian sighed. Yeah, but Brother Nitian, you're not bad yourself. High-quality text first, all in %%%. Haha, mystic late phase, that's just the same level as me, it's nothing. Nitian waved his hand. Let's continue our conversation. What else do you guys want to know about the ancient noble houses? Nitian had been answering Qikuan and Yushan's questions, teaching them about the ancient sects and ancient noble houses. Of course, what Nitian said wasn't any secret. It was something everyone in the ancient world knew, but the disciples of the hidden noble houses didn't know much about it. So, Nitian didn't mind showing off in front of them to raise his status. However, after Zhang Naipeo broke through, the owner of the inn squinted his eyes and looked outside the inn. He raised his head and looked upstairs, a flash of surprise in his eyes as he mumbled to himself. Someone broke through upstairs? Could it be that person? It seems like this test is full of talents. With that, the owner's eyes returned to their previous calmness, and he didn't say anything else. Phew. Lin Yi let out a breath of turbid air, a smile on his face. I finally broke through. Zhang Naipeo, I really have to thank you. You've broken through too, but without you, I wouldn't have the chance to break through. In this period of time, Lin Yi had been showing signs of breaking through to mystic late phase, but he lacked a chance, and with this chance today, Lin Yi broke through. This was an unexpected reward for Lin Yi. Lin Yi stretched lazily, feeling an indescribable sense of satisfaction. Leveling up naturally was much more comfortable than using compressed energy to break through. At least his clothes weren't destroyed, and it wasn't that painful when he broke through.
Oink oink.
Skybolt Pig looked at Lin Yi enviously. This little thing couldn't understand how Lin Yi, who looked like he didn't have any strength at all, became stronger in such a short amount of time.
What was going on?
Ha! Little guy, you want to level up too? Lin Yi broke through to Mystic Late Phase, and his mood was very good. Naturally, his attitude towards Skybolt Pig got better as well.
Oink oink.
Skybolt Pig quickly nodded.
Alright.
Lin Yi agreed quickly. I'll use this breakthrough to turn you into a Mystic High-Class Pig.
Oink oink.
Skybolt Pig heard Lin Yi's words and started dancing in excitement. But, I'll leave the task of finding the Fire Spirit's fruit to you. You'll have to work hard. Lin Yi reminded. To be continued, School Beauty's Personal Expert 1482. School Beauty's Personal Expert Chapter 1482. Mystic Late Phase Update complete. Chapter 1485. Campus Belle's Personal Expert 1483. Campus Belle's Personal Expert Chapter 1483. School Beauty's Personal Master Chapter 1483. Slapping his face, oink. Skybolt Pig nodded in agreement. Come on then, little thing. Lin Yi picked up Skybolt Pig and entered the Jade Space again. He could feel that Skybolt Pig didn't have any practitioner's arts. The energy in his body was accumulated from treasures, very similar to Lin Yi's all-purpose energy. After Lin Yi's energy entered Skybolt Pig's body, it merged perfectly with the energy from before. It seemed like the pure qi in a spirit beast's body was the same as his own energy. No wonder General Wei Wu could level up. Healing spirit beasts were similar to other spirit beasts, except that they had the natural ability to transfer all-purpose energy to others. General Wei Wu happened to have this ability, and that was why Elder Yu treated it as a healing spirit beast. Other spirit beasts had different abilities, but the all-purpose energy in their body was the same. It was just that they didn't know how to transfer it. Although this energy was all-purpose, it couldn't be transferred to others before it was transferred. Even if it was all-purpose, it wouldn't help. So, only people like Lin Yi, who practiced all-purpose energy, could use it. This was one of the weaknesses of spirit beasts. When Skybolt Pig broke through to the early phase of Mystic, the sky was already bright. Lin Yi patted the little guy in front of him lightly and smiled. All right, little guy, hide yourself, I'm going to see my old friend. Yu Bing probably didn't sleep well the whole night, right? With that thought, Lin Yi felt touched. Although he didn't get along with the common House Yu and some people in the hidden House Yu, his friendship with Yu Bing was real. But the friendship between him and Yu Bing was real. It didn't matter if it was because of Yu Ning or not. Yu Bing treated him as a friend, and so he was very grateful. If there was a chance, Lin Yi would definitely repay him, but Yu Bing didn't need anything at the moment. Skybolt Pig had just broken through and was running around the house excitedly when he heard Lin Yi's words. Reluctantly, he found a place to hide. Before the trial began, Lin Yi did not plan to let too many people know about the existence of the Skybolt Pig, in order to avoid unnecessary trouble. Once the trial began, everyone was destined to become enemies. Lin Yi wasn't afraid of others robbing it. The worst that could happen was a fight. However, he believed that if these people couldn't see through the secret of the Skybolt Pig and just treated it as an ordinary profound rank pet with no attack power, no one would rob it. This kind of thing was useless. In the ancient sects, there were many people who raised some spirit beasts as pets. However, although these spirit beasts were powerful, their combat power was very weak. They would not cause much harm to humans. Lin Yi pushed the door open and walked out of the bedroom to see Zhao Qikuan, Zhao Qijiu, and two people he didn't know. One of them looked similar to Yu Bing, so he should be Yu Shan from House Yu. As for the other person, Lin Yi had never seen him before, but he felt like he had seen him before. He couldn't tell who he looked like. Isn't this Brother Ling? How are you? Are you all right? I heard that you were injured yesterday, so I wanted to go see you, but I didn't want to disturb you. Are you all right? Zhao Qikuan pretended to greet Lin Yi. Zhao Qikuan was obviously more shrewd than Yu Shan. He already knew that Lin Yi couldn't be roped in, and Lin Yi was already crippled. But after all, they had drunk together before, so he still pretended to comfort him. Ah, thank you for your concern, Brother Zhao. I'm fine. Lin Yi smiled and nodded at this Qikuan. Towards this Zhao Qikuan, Lin Yi didn't have much of a bad impression of him. This person was smooth, but he was easier to get along with than Qibing. His instincts told him that they were enemies, just like Yu Bing and Yu Shan.
Nothing?
He's probably crippled, and is about to say goodbye to my brother? Yushan said in a strange tone. But that big brother of mine sure is unlucky. He just found an ally, but he became a cripple. How sad, how sad. Yushan used to be a reserved person, but after suddenly becoming Niqian's boss, his ego swelled up, and he started to do some crazy things.
Gotcha.
The door next to Lin Yi's was pushed open, and Yu Bing glared at Yushan. Yushan, what did you say? Say it again.
What?
Did I say something wrong? Did I step on your sore spot? You couldn't take it anymore and jumped out?
Yushan curled his lips as he looked at Yu Bing.
Yushan, you're getting more and more out of hand.
Yu Bing was furious.
You've been picking on me all the time, and I've tolerated it. But you shouldn't treat other people's pain like a joke. Who do you think you are? Niqian was getting impatient after hearing Yu Bing's nagging. He wanted to go out to eat, but he was delayed here. Naturally, he wasn't happy about it. Who are you? This is House Yu's business. You have no right to butt in. Yu Bing didn't expect someone else to help Yushan. No right to butt in? Niqian raised his hands and made a weird hand sign in the air. He smiled coldly. Ignorant trash, it's as easy as flipping my hand to kill you. With that, Niqian raised his right hand and slapped Yu Bing across the face with a loud slap. He then slapped the other side of Yu Bing's face with another slap. Yu Bing was slapped across the other side of his face. Yu Bing, on the other hand, just stood there, not moving at all. It was as if he was waiting to be slapped. He didn't do anything at all. Lin Yi was quite far away, but he could see Yu Bing's expression. Yu Bing's face was filled with rage, but he didn't move at all. He didn't even fight back. This surprised Lin Yi. Yu Bing didn't look like a coward at all. Yesterday, when Zhang Naipeo was so powerful, Yu Bing still wanted to stand up for him, but Lin Yi stopped him with a glance. Today, someone was slapping his face in front of everyone, and he didn't react at all. What was going on? After slapping Yu Bing twice, Niqian clapped his hands nonchalantly. He turned to Qikuan, Qijiao, and Yushan. Let's go, I'm starving to death. Listening to this trash is so annoying. Lin Yi hesitated, but he didn't stop him. Lin Yi didn't know what Yu Bing was planning. Why did Yu Bing choose to endure it? Was there something he didn't know? Since Yu Bing was enduring it, Lin Yi naturally wouldn't act rashly. To be continued. School Beauty's Personal Master 1483. School Beauty's Personal Master Chapter 1483. Slapping Face Slapping completed. Chapter 1486. School Beauty's Personal Master 1484. School Beauty's Personal Master Chapter 1484. Shocked Feng Niqian didn't even look back when he left, but Yushan turned around and laughed. Big bro, how was it?
Good, right?
You're not that good, are you? In front of Niqian bro, you're just trash.
Ha 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 ha.
At this time, Yu Bing's face flashed with anger, but he didn't reply, and this made Lin Yi even more confused.
It wasn't until the four of them were far away that Yu Bing raised his clenched fist unwillingly. What kind of evil arts is this?
I can't even fight back? Could it be that he's from an ancient sect? Is he using the legendary realm? Yu Bing was angry, but he didn't chase after him immediately. He wasn't an idiot, and the opponent's arts were so strange. He hadn't heard of any hidden noble house or normal sect having such a powerful arts. Combined with Zhang Naipeo's arts he saw yesterday, Yu Bing was pretty sure that Feng Niqian was from an ancient sect or an ancient noble house. Plus, the arts he used were similar to the legendary realm that his grandpa had mentioned before, but this kind of realm was extremely difficult to practice, and it was limited by the body's constitution. Not everyone could practice it, and so Yu Bing didn't think too much of it. But now that he had experienced it himself, he knew how scary it was. At that moment, his body seemed to be bound by something. He couldn't move at all. He had a body full of anger, but he couldn't vent it. If someone really used this mental cultivation method against an enemy, wouldn't that be the same as standing there waiting for death? It was too scary. What? That person is from an ancient sect? Lin Yi didn't quite understand what Yu Bing was talking about. What's a realm?
Do you know?
Lin
Yi before.
When he slapped me, I couldn't move at all, and I couldn't fight back.
It was like I was tied down by an invisible force, and I was paralyzed. Yu Bing smiled bitterly. If I'm not wrong, that person is from an ancient noble house or an ancient sect. People like that. We can't afford to mess with them. Forget it. Just like Zhang Naipeo yesterday, the practitioner's arts they practice are too powerful. To us, he's someone we can only look up to. He's not even on the same level. Another person from the ancient era. Lin Yi frowned. No wonder he felt that Yu Bing's reaction was weird. So this was it. I thought that you didn't make a move because there's something you're hiding. Otherwise, I would have made a move. It's fortunate that you didn't make a move. Otherwise, you'd get beaten up too. Yu Bing sighed. Forget it, let's not talk about this anymore. It's not like a hidden house getting slapped in the face by an ancient house is anything to be proud of. We can't get revenge anyways. We can only blame it on our bad luck. You can't do it. Lin Yi faintly asked, looking pensive. Of course I can't.
Right. How are you? Are you still suffering? You look pretty good, haven't you?
You've thought it through? Yu Bing waved his hand and stopped talking about his own matters, asking about Lin Yi instead.
I'm fine. Let's talk in your room. Lin Yi pointed at the room behind Yu Bing.
There weren't many people in the hallway of the inn, but in order to prevent eavesdroppers, it was better to talk in the room.
All right, let's go.
Yu Bing nodded and went back to his room. He wanted to tell Lin Yi about his discussion with his sister so that Lin Yi could be at ease. He didn't know if Lin Yi would give up on himself if he left like this. That wasn't what he and his sister wanted to see. Lin Yi followed Yu Bing into the room and closed the door. It seems like this test is going to be fun. A Zhang Naipeo and that ancient noble house guy. We have opponents. Yu Bing paused. You still want to participate in the test?
Are you kidding me?
Lin Yi, you may have lost all your strength, but you don't have to force yourself, and you don't have to give up on yourself. I've already told Ning about your situation. Don't worry, we'll help you.
Did you tell her?
Lin Yi couldn't help but smile bitterly. I've been thinking about it, and I decided that I can't hide this from her. She'll be worried, but I need her help to get you some medicine from her house. Yu Bing said, don't worry, with me and Ning here, we'll help you get back on the path of training. You talk too fast. Lin Yi shrugged, not sure if he should laugh or cry. I told you yesterday. It's fine, I don't need medicine. Lin Yi, with our relationship, you don't have to be so courteous, you don't have to be so polite. Yu Bing insisted.
You and I? What's there to be polite about?
We're old friends. Lin Yi said. But I really don't need it. I don't need to go back on the path of training.
What are you talking about?
Yu Bing paused after hearing Lin Yi's words. Could it be that Zhang Naipeo used your qi to break through, and you got stimulated? Lin Yi didn't have a choice. He channeled the art of dragon mastery, unleashing his strength as a mystic late phase. Facts speak louder than words, and Lin Yi knew that no matter what he said, Yu Bing would think that he was just comforting him. He'd let him see it for himself.
Enemy?
Feeling Lin Yi's channeling of his arts, Yu Bing subconsciously thought that it was an enemy. But he came to his senses the next second. His eyes widened as he looked at Lin Yi as if he'd seen a ghost. You. How did you? Mystic late phase. I've broken through, Lin Yi said as he retracted his qi back into his body and stopped his practitioner's arts. You're not crippled? You can still break through? Yu Bing felt like he'd heard a fairy tale. Didn't you become a cripple yesterday? I only lost my strength yesterday, and I'm back after a nap. Lin Yi said. I told you yesterday that I'm fine. I'm really fine. Fuck. Yu Bing suddenly felt that the ancient sects and noble houses were nothing compared to this guy in front of him. This guy was the real deal. He lost his strength yesterday, and now he broke through. Grandpa said that Xiao Ning was the hope of House Yu's glory, and if Xiao Ning really pulled Lin Yi over to House Yu's side, that would be amazing. Was this guy a cockroach? He was heavily injured yesterday, and now he was fine? To be continued. School Beauty's Personal Master 1484. School Beauty's Personal Master Chapter 1484. Shocking update complete. Chapter 1487. School Beauty's Personal Master 1485. School Beauty's Personal Master Chapter 1485. Rumors and rumors article from %. Don't let Zhang Naipeo know about this first. We'll give him a surprise later. Of course. Yu Bing quickly nodded. You scared me to death. I thought you were just comforting me yesterday, but now I know that you're telling the truth. It's all right. Let's go out for a meal and get some information?
Lin Yi wanted to know more about Feng Nitian so that he could prepare a countermeasure during the test, but this guy's practitioner's arts were just too strange.
With me looking like this, wouldn't I be a joke if I went out?
Yu Bing pointed at his swollen cheeks and shook his head with a bitter smile. Lin Yi channeled the art of dragon mastery and touched Yu Bing's face. All right, can we go now?
All right. Yu Bing paused.
He was about to say that he was joking when he realized that his face wasn't hurting anymore. He quickly touched it subconsciously and was surprised to find that his cheeks had returned to normal. There was no sign of swelling at all.
I'm done.
Lin Yi nodded with certainty.
I'm going crazy.
Yu Bing looked at Lin Yi, his eyes glowing green. You actually have a healing type of qi?
How is that possible? Isn't that something only people from House Sun can do? Are you related to House Sun? Related? I don't think so.
If I had to say, House Sun's son Jingyi is my half-lover. Lin Yi said.
Half-lover? Yu Bing paused but didn't ask.
He didn't understand why Lin Yi could accept Sun Jingyi, could accept other girls, but not Ning? Was it really because of the resistance from his own family?
It's fake.
Lin Yi smiled. In name only.
Let's go out for a meal. All right. Yu Bing took a deep breath.
In the past 2 days, he had seen all kinds of ruthless people one after another. His heart couldn't take it and was about to explode. Yesterday's Zhang Naipeo, today's Feng Nitian, in Yu Bing's eyes, they were all people he could only look up to, but in front of him. However, there was still a ruthless person who was even more powerful than them that he had almost overlooked. It was only now that Yu Bing sighed at his sister's sharp eyesight. His father was an idiot. A person like Lin Yi was simply an existence that couldn't be roped in even with a lantern, but his father and grandfather just didn't like him. One had to know how popular the practitioners of the Sun family in the secular world were. Not to mention the aristocratic families in the secular world. Even the hidden aristocratic families and sects wanted to form a marriage alliance with the Sun family. There was once an ancient sect that formed a marriage alliance with the Sun family. What they valued was none other than the Sun family's ability to heal and transmit spiritual qi. But does Lin Yi also know how to heal? But is Lin Yi's healing ability like House Sun's, only effective on one person? With that thought, Yu Bing couldn't help but ask, Lin Yi, your healing ability, can it be used on other people too?
Yes, it can be used on animals too, Lin Yi nodded.
It can be used on animals too. Yu Bing took in a cold breath, a glimmer of hope flashing in his eyes. He quickly asked, what about ancient spirit beasts? Does it work?
I think so.
Lin Yi nodded curiously and looked at Yu Bing, confused. Why do you ask? When Xiao Ning was young, she saved an injured ancient spirit beast, and it's been in House Yu's care ever since. Many doctors and pharmacists have seen it, but they couldn't cure it. Luckily, ancient spirit beasts have a very strong life force. As long as the qi in its body doesn't run out, it'll be able to sustain its life. I've been taking care of it all these years. Yu Bing explained, I really hope to find a doctor who can cure this ancient spirit beast. Can you help me out? Lin Yi didn't think that his casual action would cause so much trouble. If Lin Yi agreed to Yu Bing's request, then he would have to come into contact with Yu Ning. But could Lin Yi say no? Not to mention the fact that Yu Bing was the one who suggested it, and that it was just a small thing for Lin Yi to do. Just from the fact that he was injured and what Yu Ning told Yu Bing to say to him, Lin Yi couldn't just stand by and watch. Putting aside the fact that Yu Bing was the one who brought it up, it was a piece of cake for Lin Yi. Just from the fact that he was injured and what Yu Ning told Yu Bing to say to him, Lin Yi couldn't just stand by and watch. There will be a chance. Yu Bing understood what Lin Yi meant and smiled. There will be a chance. Yu Bing understood Lin Yi's meaning and smiled. The two walked out of the inn and walked to the nearest food stall. Many of the participants were eating here, and the fact that Lin Yi was crippled by Naipeo yesterday wasn't a secret. So when Lin Yi appeared, everyone looked at him with all sorts of expressions. Some were sympathetic, some were mocking, some were gloating, and some were wondering why Lin Yi didn't hurry back to think of a solution. Why did he continue staying here? But Lin Yi didn't care about all this. He found a table and sat down with Yu Bing. He ordered a few dishes and started eating. These people were just curious, and after Lin Yi and Yu Bing started eating, they didn't care about them anymore. They all went back to their previous topic, but some of the people at the table saw Lin Yi, and the topic changed to Zhang Naipeo and Feng Nitian.
Did you see that?
That Zhang Naipao from the ancient sects, you can't mess with him. That Ling Yi is the result of messing with him. A disciple of a hidden house said softly. Although his voice was soft, it didn't escape Yu Bing and Lin Yi's ears. They were all practitioners, and they were so close to each other. Naturally they could hear it clearly. But Lin Yi and Yu Bing pretended like they didn't hear anything. They were here to get information, and they didn't talk much. They just kept eating. Yeah, that Zhang Naipao is very strong, but I heard that Feng Nitian is just as strong as him. His skills are just too strong. Another disciple from a small sect added, I heard that he has a field. Just now, did you guys see it? That Yu Bing beside Ling Yi, he was slapped in the face by Feng Nitian's field. He couldn't fight back, it was just too strong. That Feng Nitian is also from the ancient house Feng. He's on the same level as the ancient sections. Us hidden houses and normal sects can't mess with him. The other person also sighed and said, during the trial, we should hide. If we meet these two people, we will only be waiting for death. Yeah, we can hide if we can't mess with them. However, those two over there are really unlucky. They've offended two ancient-level enemies in one go. Unless they don't continue to participate in the trials, otherwise, in the trials, the results can be imagined. The disciple from the hidden family who had spoken before said with a bit of pity. To be continued, School Beauty's Personal Expert 1485. School Beauty's Personal Expert Text Chapter 1485. Gossips has been updated. Chapter 1488. School Beauty's Personal Master 1486. School Beauty's Personal Master Chapter 1486. Good news. Here's a piece of good news. This article came from %. Yeah, how unlucky, but there's nothing we can do about it. We can't afford to mess with ancient people. The disciple of the small sect who spoke before also nodded in agreement. However, in my opinion, these things don't have much to do with us. As long as we are careful, it'll be fine. We can't care about what happens to others. Yes. Another person nodded in agreement. After the meal, Lin Yi and Yu Bing stood up and left. They had more or less gotten the information they wanted. The person who was with Yu Shan this morning was called Feng Nitian, from the ancient house Feng. His ultimate skill was heaven-defying arts, able to freeze people for around 3 minutes. What do you think? Do you have a plan? Yu Bing was very worried after hearing their discussion. Now that the grudge had been formed, he believed that if Zhang Naipao met Lin Yi in the test, he wouldn't hold back at all, he would kill him. And since Yu Shan was with Feng Nitian, he would be in danger as well. Yu Shan would probably use Feng Nitian to get rid of him, clearing the way for him to become the young master. If that happened, then he and Lin Yi would have offended the two strongest people in the test. He couldn't help but worry. Lin Yi was amazing as well, but 2 fists couldn't fight against 4 hands, and Feng Nitian's arts couldn't be easily countered. At least Yu Bing didn't know how to do it. This was a secret art passed down from the ancient times. It wasn't something a normal practitioner's arts could defend against. The feeling of being bound by Nitian was still fresh in Yu Bing's mind. He really couldn't move at all, and if Nitian wanted to kill him, he would have just stood there and waited for his death. Are you all right? Lin Yi said faintly. I haven't thought of a complete solution yet. High-quality text first, all below. But we can take the risk, or we can strike first. On the other hand, Lin Yi felt more at ease after hearing about Feng Nitian's situation. Zhang Naipao and Feng Nitian were good. They both had some achievements in the underhanded ways, but when it came to fighting face-to-face, Zhang Naipao and Feng Nitian were the same. They might not have any advantage. In that case, Lin Yi could play to his strengths and avoid his weaknesses. As long as he could find a way to overcome their consummate skills, it would be much easier to deal with them. Although Lin Yi had no solution for the time being, Lin Yi felt that finding a solution was only a matter of time. It was not a difficult task. That's good. Yu Bing placed all his hopes on Lin Yi. If Lin Yi had a way, then that would be great. Although Yu Bing said that, he was still a little worried. But no matter what, he couldn't back out from this test. That would mean that he had lost to Yu Shan, and even his grandfather and father would not be able to support him. It seemed that the road ahead was exceptionally dangerous. Lin Yi could tell that Yu Bing was worried. Before they went back to their rooms, Lin Yi patted Yu Bing's shoulder. He consoled, "Don't worry. When the time comes, it's fine if these two people from the ancient era don't provoke me. If they do, Don't blame me for being impolite. I'll make them come here standing and send them back in wheelchairs. Ha, good. Have you this sentence? I'm relieved. Yu Bing was relieved after hearing that. Thinking about Lin Yi's miracles. Maybe a miracle really could happen. Lin Yi went back to his room to think of a plan. Yu Bing, on the other hand, returned to his room. He immediately dialed his sister Yu Ning's phone. Brother. How is he? Is he okay? Yu Ning and Yu Bing were the same. They didn't sleep well the whole night. Yu Ning was thinking about how to get the medicine from the family, and she was also worried about Lin Yi's safety. She kept her phone close to her hand, waiting for her brother to contact her. So at the moment when the phone rang, Yu Ning answered it. You picked up already? Yu Bing paused, but immediately understood what his sister was thinking. He smiled. Ning, you look worried? And, brother, why are you still joking at a time like this? Yu Ning wasn't happy, but it was her brother, so she couldn't get angry. Haha, are you joking? I don't have the mood to joke with you. Yu Bing stopped teasing Yu Ning and said directly, Sister, let me tell you a good news. What good news? I don't want to hear it first. Yu Ning said, Brother, tell me first, how is he? Sister, you're too worried. You really don't want to hear the good news? The good news is about Lin Yi. Yu Bing smiled. Lin Yi? His good news? Isn't he? Yu Ning frowned slightly, and her face suddenly lit up. There's a turn for the better? Sister, your eyesight is really out of this world. I have to admire you, you're really good at reading people. Yu Bing sighed. Do you know? Yesterday, Lin Yi was crippled, really crippled. He had no strength left in him. I could feel that he was even weaker than a normal person, but this morning he came to find me, and guess what? What? He recovered half. Yu Ning made a bold guess, although she felt that it was impossible. She had never heard of anyone recovering half of their strength in one night. However, her brother had praised Lin Yi before, and even said that she had good eyesight. That must mean that Lin Yi was very strong, so Yu Ning made a bold guess. Although when her brother said that her eyesight was out of this world, Yu Ning blushed a little, but now she couldn't care about these details. No, guess again. Yu Bing shook his head to keep her in suspense. Then, he recovered a third? Yu Ning lowered her assumption. After all, her previous guess was too bold. Sister, can't you guess more boldly? Is your eyesight that bad? Think about it, that's out of this world. Yu Bing shook his head. Could it be that he recovered to his original state? That's not possible, right? Really? Yu Ning exclaimed in surprise. He didn't recover to his original state, Yu Bing said. I knew it. If he could recover in one night, he wouldn't be human. Yu Ning patted her chest. She was shocked by herself. I haven't finished yet. Yu Bing said. He didn't recover to his original state, he broke through. He was at the peak of the middle phase before, but this morning he's at the late phase. After Yu Ning heard it, she was so shocked that she almost threw the phone in her hand. She held the phone tightly, and her breathing became a little rough. Brother. Are you telling the truth? You're not lying to me? Why would I lie to you? Don't you trust your own eyesight? Yu Bing couldn't help but smile bitterly when he heard his sister's excited voice. In fact, he was shocked when he first heard the news. To be continued, School Beauty's Personal Expert 1486. School Beauty's Personal Expert Chapter 1486. Good news, let me tell you a piece of good news. Chapter 1489. School Beauty's Personal Expert 1487. School Beauty's Personal Expert Chapter 1487. Ice Palace, someone from the Ice Palace. This article came from %. That's unbelievable, he broke through. Yu Ning's face flashed a blush of happiness. Sure enough, her brother said that her eyesight was not bad. It seemed that it was really not bad. She knew he wasn't simple. He wasn't weaker than her at all. Yeah, I'm telling you the good news. You don't have to worry anymore, Yu Bing said. If there's nothing else, I'll hang up first. The plan is cancelled as well. Okay. Yu Ning nodded happily. As for the ancient houses and sex, Yu Bing didn't talk too much with his sister. He realized that he was worrying too much. Lin Yi was fine before, but he was so worried that his sister was worried as well. So this time, Yu Bing learned his lesson and told Yu Ning about what happened here after the test was over. Who knows, Maybe he and Lin Yi would be able to pass the test without a hitch. Yang Qiqi came to the inn and stayed in her room. Her personality was like that, very cold, and she didn't want to make friends. Her goal here was simple, to participate in the test. So she didn't know what happened these 2 days. She didn't even know that Lin Yi was here. At around 8 o'clock in the evening, a loud and clear voice suddenly came from outside the inn. High-quality text first, all at %. All students participating in the Ice Palace test. Attention! The registration period has ended, and we will begin the registration process now. All students of the inn, please gather at the plaza in front of the inn in 10 minutes to accept the registration from the Ice Palace messengers and pay the deposit. We will not wait after the deadline. The voice was full of energy, indicating that the speaker was very strong. But those who were familiar with the voice should be able to recognize it. The person who shouted was actually the owner of the inn. Earth class. This startled Lin Yi. He didn't think that the owner of the inn was an Earth class, and when he stayed in the inn before, in other words, this old man had used some sort of secret technique to conceal his cultivation. This surprised Lin Yi. It seemed that the ancient sects were not on the same level as the hidden houses. None of the ancient sects were simple. Lin Yi quickly left the room, and Yu Bing's door opened at the same time. The two looked at each other and prepared to go downstairs together. At that moment, Yang Qiqi walked out from a room not too far away. She paused when she saw Lin Yi. Qiqi didn't understand. Why was this guy here again? She couldn't help but curse her unluck. Seeing him reminded her of the time when he saw her body, but she couldn't beat him. She couldn't kill him, not to mention that he was her savior. This troubled her even more. Yang Qiqi didn't think about it when she didn't see Lin Yi. She even tried to forget about Lin Yi. After all, it was like a nightmare to her. But now that she saw Lin Yi, she couldn't help but remember those unhappy memories. She frowned and turned her head away, not looking at Lin Yi anymore. At the same time, Zhao Qikuan, Zhao Qijiu, Yu Shan, and Feng Nitian walked out as well. Zhao Qikuan saw Lin Yi and was as passionate as ever. He didn't seem to be affected by what happened in the morning. Brother Lin Yi, are you still going to join the test? Because Lin Yi was going downstairs with Yu Bing. Naturally, he was going to sign up for the test. This surprised Zhao Qikuan. Could Lin Yi still participate in the test in his current condition? Without strength, wouldn't it be suicide to participate in the test? Yeah. Lin Yi nodded. He didn't explain much. On the other hand, when Qiqi heard Zhao Qikuan call Lin Yi, a strange look flashed across her eyes. Ling Yi? He was called Ling Yi? How could he have this name? Wasn't he called Lin Yi? Yes, it must be because he was called Lin Yi. He didn't want people to know his real name, so he changed his name to Ling Yi. Let's just say it, high-quality text first, all our %. Ling Yi was such a good name. How could he call himself that? But this guy was really despicable, calling himself that person's name. Humph, if there was a chance, she wouldn't let him go. How dare he use Yi's name? Some people really don't fear death. Nai Peo's voice rang. He saw Lin Yi as well. Even he didn't think that Lin Yi would still be here. He was a cripple now. What was the point of staying here? But for a cripple like Lin Yi, Nai Peo didn't care anymore. Even if he did, he'd do it in front of Liang Bro. If he killed Lin Yi here, Liang Bro wouldn't be happy, but he didn't forget to make fun of Lin Yi. Thank you for the chi you trained so hard, haha. It helped me break through to Mystic Late Phase. Taze, it feels so good. You're welcome, Lin Yi said faintly. Ha 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 ha. Nai Peo started laughing crazily. Nai Peo bro, you're amazing. Congratulations. Feng Nitian congratulated. He and Nai Peo belonged to the ancient class, and there was no need for them to fight each other here. After all, they were the strongest here, and if they were to fight, the hidden houses and small sects would think that it was a dog-eat-dog fight, and that wouldn't be interesting at all. Plus, Feng Nitian's goal was to become the head of House Feng, and Nai Peo's goal was to become the disciple of the Grand Elder. It was good for them to get to know more powerful people. And so, other than the first few who were sucking up to them, the two of them didn't accept any other disciples. If they all joined their side, then the test would lose its meaning, and it would become a fight between the two of them. That wasn't something they wanted to see. And they had agreed during breakfast that they wouldn't interfere with each other's teams. They'd work together to steal points from other teams. Nitian bro is amazing as well. I don't think I'll get a higher score than you in this test.
Naipeo said with a smile.
What he said was the truth. Nitian only needed to use one move, and he'd be able to bind the others. He didn't even need to lift a finger, and he'd be able to steal their points. But Naipeo wasn't worried at all. He didn't even need to lift a finger, and he'd be able to scare the others into giving up their points.
Otherwise, they'd become trash like Lin Yi.
Hearing the two big shots flattering each other, Lin Yi's lips curled into a cold smile. They still wanted to do well in the test?
Just wait and see.
Lin Yi and Yu Bing walked down the stairs side by side, ignoring the people behind them. Xianxia, on the other hand, followed closely behind Lin Yi. Zhuang Niapeo, on the other hand, couldn't help but humphed coldly when he saw Xianxia. To be continued. School Beauty's Personal Expert 1487. School Beauty's Personal Expert Chapter 1487. Ice Palace's Personal Expert. The people from Ice Palace had finished updating. Chapter 1490. Zhuang Niapeo had always had his eyes on Chi-Chi, but Naipeo didn't seem to be interested in her at all, so he couldn't make a decision on his own. He could only smile coldly and think about how he would open the door for her during the test. Although the inn owner had given them a time limit of 10 minutes, none of the participants dared to waste any time. It wasn't even 5 minutes when they all arrived at the plaza in front of the inn. Lin Yi and Yu Bing found a spot first and sat cross-legged on the ground. The other disciples came over and copied Lin Yi and Yu Bing, finding their own spots to sit down. The owner of the inn, on the other hand, was standing straight on the flower altar in front of the square, his Earth-class late-phase peak power fully displayed, not hiding anything at all. Beside him was a woman dressed in white, around 10 or so years of age, but Lin Yi's intuition and years of medical experience told him that this woman was definitely older than that. She should be at least 30 years old, but she took good care of herself. Was it because of her training in the heart, or was it because she had entered Sky Class, reducing the aging of her face? But, entering Sky Class didn't mean that one could regain their youthfulness. After entering Sky Class, one's face was fixed at the moment before they entered Sky Class. This meant that this girl had broken through to Sky Class at 18? Was that even possible? Or perhaps the ancient noble houses had pills that could keep one's face forever, like the face pill. Lin Yi had seen this recipe in Zhang Liju's notes before, but while it could keep one's face forever, it couldn't extend one's lifespan. Even so, it was still a golden class 4th level pill, and it was extremely difficult to make. The success rate was very low, and if the Ice Palace had it, then it wouldn't be easy. Soon, all the disciples who had come to participate in the trial had arrived. They all sat down with their legs crossed, waiting for the Ice Palace envoy to speak. The woman nodded indifferently when she saw that everyone had arrived and said, "Since everyone is here, then let's begin. Let me introduce myself. I'm Xiao Qing, the maidservant of the Ice Palace's palace master. I'm also the emissary who will be bringing you to the Ice Palace's territory for the trial." Although this woman was just a servant, no one dared to look down on her. Looking at the way the inn owner was treating her with respect, it was easy to tell. The inn owner was an Earth-class late-phase peak, half a step into Sky Class, but he was being so respectful to this servant. One could only imagine her position in the Ice Palace. The palace master's maidservant. If the palace master was someone with absolute authority in the Ice Palace, then her maidservant was probably on the same level as the elders. You can call her emissary Qing or elder Qing. The inn owner reminded all the trial challengers present to prevent them from calling Little Blue the emissary and causing a lot of trouble. Of course, they weren't idiots. If they couldn't even see through this, then they weren't fit to participate in this trial. These people were all smart people. How could they not understand this? Most of you are from hidden aristocratic families and sects, but there are a few who are special. They are from ancient aristocratic families and ancient sects. Qing paused and glanced at the disciples present. She continued, "But in the eyes of the Ice Palace, there is no special treatment. We will treat everyone the same and will not give special treatment. Don't think that you have any sense of superiority, otherwise the Ice Palace will stop your right to participate and send out a notice to the ancient level. Your conduct will be reported and you will be listed as a member of the Black Viper sect." Other than Naipeo and Nitian, many of the hidden houses and sects disciples were in an uproar after hearing Qing's words. Wasn't this Ice Palace a little too much? They didn't even give the ancient house Feng and the sect any face at all. Naipeo and Nitian, on the other hand,
knew that the Ice Palace was like a giant dam in the ancient sections. They didn't participate in the battle against the Day sect back then. If they did, then the Day sect wouldn't be doing so well right now. The Ice Palace belonged to a relatively neutral force, drifting between the righteous and evil factions. The Ice Palace's people rarely participated in those struggles. Instead, they focused on cultivation. This was also the reason why the Ice Palace had so many heaven rank experts. Don't worry, Elder Qing. Since Brother Feng and I are in the Ice Palace's territory, we will follow the rules. Naipeo stood up and cupped his fist. Yes, Brother Naipeo is right. We are here to participate in the trial, and we must follow the rules like everyone else.
Nitian said.
Very good. Qing nodded and continued. Now, I'll briefly explain the rules of the trial. If you don't accept it, then you can leave. If you don't, then you'll have to pay the deposit. Tomorrow morning, the trial will officially begin. Shaoli, read out the rules of the trial.
Yes, Elder Qing.
The inn owner hurriedly nodded his head, as he announced the rules of the trial in a clear voice.
The duration of this trial is 3 days. The trial location is the Ice Palace's outer perimeter, the Ice Snow Spirit Mountain. During the trial, you will be required to traverse various perilous situations and harvest various herbs. Every time you obtain a herb, you will be rewarded with corresponding points. The points will be automatically assessed according to the quality of the herb. Of course, you can fight each other for points as well. But remember, you can hurt people, but you can't put people in danger. If you break this rule, you will be severely punished by the Ice Palace. This rule wasn't present in the previous trials. In the past trials, everyone had their own destiny, and the Ice Palace wouldn't interfere. But this time it was different. Because there were disciples from ancient noble houses and ancient sects joining the trials, the Ice Palace added this rule for the sake of safety. 1. They were afraid that the disciples of the ancient noble houses and ancient sects would act recklessly and kill the disciples of the hidden houses and normal sects. Secondly, they were afraid that the disciples of the hidden aristocratic families and ancient sects would band together and attack the disciples of the ancient sects and ancient aristocratic families. This would increase the conflict, and the Ice Palace would form a grudge with the hidden aristocratic families and ancient aristocratic families. In the future, not only would he not be able to continue holding trials to earn money, he would also have to form a grudge with the sect of Tomorrow for Tomorrow and the ancient Feng clan. Chapter 1491. As soon as this rule was announced, all the challengers were very surprised. This was because this rule was different from what they had heard from their elders at home. However, most of them were very happy after hearing it. At least no matter what, they would be able to keep their lives and would not lose their lives. The stronger ones didn't mind, but there were many early phase mystic class participants here, and they were a bit worried. This rule made them feel better. However, a lot of people still turned their attention to Lin Yi, suspicious. Why did it seem like the rules were made for this guy? He didn't have any strength, and was even weaker than a normal person. If he went to the trial, people wouldn't dare do anything to him. If they used too much strength, they could kill him. If he failed, not only would he not be able to participate in the test, but he'd also be breaking the rules of the Ice Palace, bringing trouble to themselves. A lot of people had the same thought. If Lin Yi was going to participate in the test, they should stay away from him and not let him stick to them. In addition, the entire process of the trial will be recorded on the electronic card that I will send to you later. Your points will also be displayed on the electronic card. The inn owner said, including during the trial, if the medicinal herbs in your hands are snatched by others, then the points will be transferred accordingly. But be careful, don't damage the ingredients because of fighting. Not only will you not get any points, but you will also get points deducted. Card. Isn't it jade?
A descendant of a family had clearly heard that the recording device in the trial was a piece of jade and not an electronic card, so he subconsciously asked. Jade is something used in the past, and with the advancement of technology, the recording devices of the Ice Palace have naturally been changed to technology. The cost of a jade to record information is too high.
The inn owner explained. All right. Is there anything else you don't understand? If there's no doubt, then I'll register you and collect the security deposit.
No.
Everyone shook their heads. What a joke.
Everyone was here to participate in the trial. How could they give up just because of a small change in the rules?
Wouldn't that be a waste of time? All right, then let's start from this row. One by one, come up and register. Swipe your card to pay the deposit. the inn owner said to the closest participants.
Yes.
The trial taker at the front got up and walked over. He filled in his information on the information booklet given by the innkeeper. Just as he was about to swipe his card to pay the deposit, the innkeeper waved his hand.
Give me your hand, I want to test your strength.
The innkeeper said lightly.
Can't I just circulate my cultivation method? Do I even need to stretch out my hand?
The challenger asked in surprise.
Lin Yi, on the other hand, narrowed his eyes.
He'd never seen this participant before.
Evidently, he'd been hiding in his room ever since he'd arrived, and hadn't come out until the inn owner called for everyone to gather.
However, that wasn't what caught Lin Yi's attention.
It was the fact that this person was an Earth-class early-phase spiritual practitioner.
He had already exceeded the requirements of the trial. No wonder he was so nervous when the innkeeper wanted to check his strength.
No need, give me your hand,
the inn owner said faintly. The trial taker hesitated, but still reached out his hand. He was secretly channeling his chi and suppressing his strength to mystic late-phase peak. He didn't reveal his Earth-class early-phase strength.
I told you there's no need.
What kind of chi are you channeling?
The inn owner looked coldly at the trial taker and scanned his registration information. Gone Mountain Sect disciple Wuxia Dao, pretending to be a mystic late-phase peak, has been verified to be an Earth-class early phase.
Your right to participate in the trial is revoked.
The Gone Mountain Sect will be blacklisted, and will not be allowed to participate in the Ice Palace trial for the next 10 years.
AI.
When the Gone Mountain Sect disciple called Wuxia Dao heard the words of the inn owner, he immediately revealed a dejected expression.
He originally thought that hiding his strength wouldn't be discovered.
In the end, he was found out when he registered, and even his own sect was banned from participating in the trials for 10 years.
But of course, he didn't dare argue with the Ice Palace people. Without another word, he ran to the parking lot, ready to go back to his sect. Everyone present was shocked at this, including Lin Yi.
This inn owner was quite something indeed. Not only was he able to hide his strength, but he could also sense someone else's true strength through a handshake. Although Lin Yi had this ability as well, Lin Yi had trained in the art of dragon mastery. He had a golden finger. This inn owner was just a servant of the Ice Palace.
How could he have this ability?
Is there anyone else hiding their strength? If you leave now, I won't hold your sects and families accountable. Otherwise, when my results come out, your families and sects will also be banned from participating in the Ice Palace's trial for 10 years. The inn owner looked at everyone present and shouted. This time, a few of the disciples stood up and shook their heads bitterly as they walked to the parking lot. Evidently, these people had been hiding their strength. Lin Yi looked at them and was a bit surprised. There was an Earth-class mid-phase here. Lin Yi couldn't check out their strength one by one, so he was quite shocked by what he saw.
No more?
Then continue. But if there is someone else mixed in, don't blame me for being impolite. After the inn owner finished speaking, he pointed to the nearest challenger in front of him and said, "It's your turn."
Yes.
This person was Naipeo's follower, Xianxia. He walked up to the inn owner respectfully and registered his information before extending his hand.
Yes, mystic mid-phase peak.
The inn owner nodded and looked at his information. Hidden House Xianxia. You can go to Elder Qing and swipe your card.
Yes.
Xianxia quickly nodded and took out a bank card to swipe it. After that, the rest of the participants went to register and swipe their cards. But Lin Yi noticed one thing. There were freelancers amongst them, meaning that they didn't belong to any sects or houses. The inn owner, however, didn't seem to have any qualms with people like this. As long as their strength was up to par, they'd be allowed to pay.
Chapter 1492.
In a blink of an eye, it was Pai Zhishan and Pai Zhihai's turn. Pai Zhishan went up to register his information and then extended his hand, waiting for the inn owner to test his strength. He was the first physical practitioner, but he wasn't sure if the inn owner could test a physical practitioner's strength. Mystic late phase peak physical strength. The inn owner didn't fail the test just because Pai Zhishan was a physical practitioner. He quickly reported his strength. "Go pay the deposit."
Yes.
Pai Zhishan passed the card to Elder Qing, but kept giving Pai Zhihai looks. Pai Zhihai was an Earth-class early-phase physical practitioner, so there was no way he could pass the test. So Pai Zhishan wanted him to leave as soon as possible. Previously, Pai Zhihai didn't stand up because Pai Zhishan wanted to be lucky.
He wasn't sure if the inn owner could test the strength of a physical master, so he wanted to be the first to test it. If the inn owner couldn't, then Pai Zhihai would come up as well. If he could, then Pai Zhihai would quickly return home. Pai Zhihai got Pai Zhishan's signal, so he got up to leave, but was stopped by the inn owner. Where are you going? I'm going to give up. I'm not going to the test anymore. Pai Zhihai jumped. You're not going to participate? Why? The inn owner asked coldly. I'm not feeling well. Pai Zhihai's heart was pounding. The hidden house Pai was powerful in front of normal houses, but in front of an ancient sect, they didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Not feeling well? Come here. The inn owner said. Did I say you could leave? Pai Zhihai didn't dare disobey the inn owner, and he couldn't run. In front of an Earth-class late-phase peak, what was an Earth-class early phase like him? Plus, he couldn't run away forever. He didn't need to investigate his identity to know that he'd drag House Pai down with him. So Pai Zhihai hesitated, but still turned around and walked back. Which family are you from? The inn owner asked. Hidden House Pai. Pai Zhihai said honestly. Give me your hand. The innkeeper shouted. This is. Although unwilling, Pai Zhihai had no choice but to extend his hand and shake the innkeeper's hand. Earth-class early phase physical power? The Hidden House Pai's qualification is revoked, and you can't participate for the next 10 years. The inn owner humphed. What about me? Pai Zhishan was shocked and quickly asked. Aren't you from the Hidden House Pai? The inn owner asked. Pai Zhishan was depressed. If he knew this would happen, he would have asked Pai Zhihai to go back. Along the way, he had asked Pai Zhihai to hide his strength. In the inn, he didn't reveal any flaws. He wanted to muddle through and shine in the trial. But he didn't expect that he still couldn't pass this strict test. Physical practitioners are weaker than spiritual practitioners by a level, so he's equivalent to a mystic late-phase peak spiritual practitioner? Zhishan struggled to explain. Are you deaf? The innkeeper snorted. Did I say that external Earth-rank martial artists could participate? Leave now, don't bring trouble to your Hidden House Pai. I know. Pai Zhishan didn't know what to do. Why was he so unlucky? But he didn't dare say anything about the ice palace. He could only say dejectedly, then my deposit. The deposit is not refundable, it's already been deducted. Qing returned the card to Pai Zhishan coldly. What? Zhishan didn't think that he wouldn't be able to participate in the trial, and he had to pay 100 million. This was a double loss. Wasn't this too bad? But since the Ice Palace said they wouldn't give it to him, he didn't dare ask anymore. He could only leave with Pai Zhihai. The person behind Pai Zhihai was Lin Yi. He was the closest, and seeing Pai Zhishan's pained expression, he couldn't help but laugh. Lin Yi naturally knew who the Hidden House Pai was. To an unfriendly family like this, Lin Yi could only laugh at them. Zhishan heard Lin Yi's laughter, and his expression froze. Hatred flashed across his face as he turned to glare at Lin Yi. It's you? That cripple? Very well, Lin Yi, right? Pai Zhishan. We'll remember you. We'll meet again. Pai Zhishan was furious, but he didn't dare to vent it on the Ice Palace. To him, this unlucky bastard bumped into him, so he wouldn't be courteous anymore. He would find this Lin Yi to vent his anger on. Iso said, next time we meet, you can buy a coffin. Pai Zhishan laughed coldly. You talk too fast. With the Ice Palace people here, naturally, he didn't dare to do anything to Lin Yi. After laughing coldly, he left with Pai Zhihai, but he remembered Lin Yi's face. His hatred with the Hidden House Pai couldn't be resolved anymore. His follower Erguden had killed quite a few of their mouths. Even if this didn't happen, they would still be dead. Lin Yi wasn't afraid of offending House Pai. Don't say anything. You register. The inn owner glanced at Lin Yi, and a strange light flashed in his eyes. He had seen Lin Yi being crippled with his own eyes, and now Lin Yi didn't leave, but instead participated in the trial. This further confirmed the inn owner's previous guess. The person who broke through upstairs was Lin Yi in front of him. Yes. Lin Yi registered his information. His strength was Mystic Late Phase. His sect was Freelancer, and his name was Ling Yi. After looking at Lin Yi's strength, the inn owner was sure that Lin Yi had broken through. He was very curious and troubled. Just how did this guy do it? Of course, these were personal secrets. Even if the Ice Palace was powerful, they didn't have the right to ask about other people's training methods. Give me your hand. The inn owner couldn't wait to confirm Lin Yi's strength. Chapter 1493. The inn owner shook Lin Yi's hand. The next moment, a look of shock appeared on his face. From what he could sense, Lin Yi didn't have any strength at all. He was no different from a normal person. Could it be that he hadn't recovered, and was lying to him? Your strength. The inn owner was about to ask when he suddenly felt the change in Lin Yi's strength. Lin Yi's strength went from 0 at the beginning to mystic mid-phase peak all of a sudden. Lin Yi could tell from the inn owner's expression that his guess was right. Before he used the art of dragon mastery, his strength was hidden. Even someone like the inn owner couldn't accurately judge his strength. Of course, Lin Yi was just testing it. He wouldn't make things too difficult for the inn owner. After all, he was the one asking for help from the Ice Palace, and if things went sour, how would Lin Yi get the fruit? Plus, Lin Yi's background was questionable to begin with. Lin Yi naturally wouldn't cause any more problems. But in order to test if he could hide his strength, Lin Yi suppressed it to mystic mid-phase peak, to see if the inn owner could see his full strength. The inn owner was shocked, a strange look flashing across his eyes as he looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. How could it be mid-phase peak? Lin Yi smiled faintly, no longer holding back. In an instant, his strength as a mystic late phase was displayed to the fullest. The inn owner looked at Lin Yi meaningfully, but didn't say anything else. Lin Yi's strength could be suppressed, could be hidden, and had already exceeded the scope of the inn owner's probing. Although he was shocked, this was related to the practitioner's arts, and he couldn't ask about it. This was a taboo in Wulin, and the more ancient a sect was, the more important the rules of Wulin were. Lin Yi, on the other hand, had the right to participate in the trial. Although he could hide his strength, it didn't break any rules. The inn owner announced, Ling Yi, freelancer, mystic late phase, you can go pay the deposit. What? Mystic late phase? Nai Peo was the first to yell out. He had sucked Lin Yi dry, and he knew that Lin Yi was now a cripple. He couldn't believe that the inn owner was saying that Lin Yi was a mystic late phase. How was that possible? At the same time, Zhuang Niapeo, Zhuang Niaoqiang, and the others beside Nai Peo were all shocked as well. They saw the whole process of Lin Yi becoming a cripple with their own eyes. But how could Lin Yi still be a mystic late phase? Could it be a mistake? Although they had their doubts, they weren't Nai Peo, and they didn't have a background like him. They wouldn't dare say anything like that. Li's test, of course, wouldn't be wrong. Do you have any questions? Qing evidently trusted the owner a lot, as she looked at Nai Peo faintly. She didn't give him any face just because he was from an ancient sect. That was how the Ice Palace did things. They'd changed the rules to take care of you guys, and that was already good enough. There was no way they'd give you anything else. No. Nai Peo shook his head. What else could he say after what the guy said? Nai Peo, on the other hand, looked at Lin Yi hatefully. He didn't know why Lin Yi didn't lose his strength, but he warned coldly, I don't care if you're a mystic late phase or not, we'll see what happens in this trial. Only Zhang Nai Peo would dare say something like that. Anyone else would have been scared of the Ice Palace. Of course, Nai Peo knew that he was doing this for Lin Yi, not the Ice Palace. The Ice Palace wouldn't say anything about it. All right, I was just about to get my revenge. Lin Yi nodded to Nai Peo. Nai Peo wanted to say something, but Nitian smiled at him. Do you really need to be angry at someone like that? We'll just cripple him. Those who thought that Lin Yi didn't have any strength now understood that it wasn't that Lin Yi didn't have any strength, but that he had already recovered. Plus, the inn owner was in charge of the test. No one would be able to pass. Wanting to participate in the trial without strength? That was impossible. You're right. Nai Peo nodded. People like him are like ants. Killing him is just a matter of minutes. Since he's coming to me, that means he's increasing my strength. I'll just turn him into a cripple. I don't believe he'll be able to recover. That's right. Nitian said enviously. Brother Nai Peo, you're so strong. Leveling up is so easy for you. That's true. Nai Peo said proudly. But his heart was filled with bitterness. Who could understand the pain and bitterness of his own training? You guys trained while enjoying yourselves, but I had to train while being bitten by poisonous bugs and bees after castrating myself. How could that compare? Lin Yi looked at these two bragging bastards and smiled coldly. After Lin Yi swiped his card, it was Yu Bing and Yu Shan's turn to test their strength and pay the deposit. The rest of them had a smooth journey as well. No one tried to hide their strength. After collecting everyone's deposits, Little Qing had the innkeeper distribute electronic point cards to everyone. She then said, "Tomorrow morning at 6:30 sharp here, I will lead everyone to the Ice Palace's trial location. Don't wait after the deadline."
Yes,
Everyone said solemnly. "There's one more things. I have to remind you all that from the start of the trial to the moment you leave the Ice Palace, nothing is to be leaked. If I find out, you guys will be hunted down by the Ice Palace." Little Qing warned coldly as she glared at the group of people.
yes.
Everyone replied. Who would dare try being hunted down by the Ice Palace? Qing didn't say anything else as she turned around and left. In an instant, the strength of a sky-class mid-phase was on full display, making all the disciples gasp in shock. A maid-servant of the Ice Palace's palace master was actually at the mid-heaven class. Then, how strong was the palace master? Could she be sky-class late-phase peak? Of course, they only thought about it in their hearts and didn't dare to speculate. This maid was already so powerful, so the palace master must be even more amazing. Little Qing hadn't gone far yet. If she heard them talking behind her back, what would they do? Chapter 1494. In the ancient times, sky class wasn't everywhere, but there were still quite a few. But if one didn't stand at this height, how would one be able to see all this? Life was like that, like a frog in the well. If one didn't go out, they would never know what the outside world was like. At the parking lot, the Pai brothers and Wajin Dao, who hadn't left yet, had a shocked expression on their faces. Sky class mid-phase at that. A maidservant was even stronger than the elders of the house or sect, and yet she was still a maidservant. Luckily, they didn't try to defend themselves when they were chased out, otherwise they wouldn't even know how they died. Pai Jishan and Pai Jihai looked at each other, and the two helplessly got in the car, ready to return to the hidden house Pai. They had stayed in the parking lot to see if there was anything they could do, but it seemed like it was no longer possible. It would be good enough if they didn't get punished.
Ling Yi.
Pai Jishan, will never forgive you, just you wait. Jishan was very furious. Not only did he not get to participate in the test, but he also lost 100 million. How unlucky! But he didn't dare point his finger at the Ice Palace, so he could only vent his anger on Lin Yi. That's just a small figure. It's hard to say if he'll make it back alive. He offended Zhang Naipeo of the Ri after Ri sect and Feng Nitian of the ancient house Feng. Even if he doesn't die, he'll be crippled. Jihai said, "It's fine, big bro, the test isn't much anymore. I'm already showing signs of breaking through to Earth class early phase peak. Our hidden house Pai has the advantage amongst all the hidden houses, and aren't you about to break through as well?"
That's true.
Jishan nodded. Plus, our advantage over the other houses is that we're united, unlike the other houses that fight and scheme against each other. That's right. I think it's great now. I'm not suited to managing a family's affairs, I like to train. So let Big Brother be the leader and I'll be the assistant. House Pai will be fine for at least 100 years. Pai Jihai nodded. Once I break through to Sky Class, my lifespan will increase, and protecting House Pai for a while longer won't be hard. From this, it could be seen that the two brothers from House Pai were smart and capable of doing big things. However, they made a serious mistake, and that was underestimating Lin Yi's strength. They treated Ling Wan and Lin Yi as two different people. After Little Qing left, the innkeeper waved his hand at everyone and said, "Go back and disperse." Only then did everyone get up and walk towards the inn. All of a sudden, Lin Yi felt a cold light coming from behind him, and he subconsciously turned around to see Yu Shan not far behind him and Yu Bing. His eyes were cold, and when he saw Lin Yi turn around, he turned around and started chatting with Feng Nitian. Lin Yi frowned. Yu Shan really wasn't a good person, and he was probably going to do something to Yu Bing in this test. As for why Lin Yi could feel the coldness, it was just an assassin's sixth sense. After returning to the inn, Yu Bing went straight to Lin Yi's room and said worriedly, "Lin Yi, tomorrow's test doesn't look good. But the Ice Palace has a new rule. We can't kill people. This way, we won't be in danger."
This rule.
Lin Yi smiled bitterly. It's better if it didn't come out at all. It's probably to take care of those two disciples from the ancient noble houses, afraid that something bad might happen to them. I was planning to kill them all in this test. As for Zhang Naipeo, Lin Yi didn't have any reason to hold back. This guy was his enemy, and from what he said, he wouldn't rest until one of them was dead. Between him and Pin Liang, there was no way he could resolve the conflict. If that was the case, he might as well use this test to break one of Pin Liang's arms. But now it seemed impossible. The Ice Palace wouldn't allow that to happen. Ha! Yu Bing's eyes went wide after hearing Lin Yi's words. No way? You want to kill them? Yu Bing was still worried about tomorrow's test, but on Lin Yi's side, he was worried about not being able to kill his enemies. People really were different. If I don't kill them, we'll be enemies sooner or later. Lin Yi said faintly. Do you think there's any way to resolve the conflict between you and Feng Nitian? He's with you, Shan, and he's already your enemy. Say. Every house has all sorts of problems. Yu Bing sighed. I know that, so I want to help you get rid of you, Shan, as well. Lin Yi smiled. That guy needs a beating. I can't kill him, but at least cripple him so he can't practice anymore. Yu Bing jumped, not expecting Lin Yi to want to deal with Yu Shan, and cripple him as well. This suggestion shocked even Yu Bing himself. But, as much as Yu Bing hated Yu Shan, he was still his brother. He couldn't bring himself to do something like that. He was moved when Lin Yi suggested this, but after calming down, he felt that he couldn't do it. No. Lin Yi, you can't do this. After all, he's my cousin, I can't hurt him. Yu Bing shook his head. It's not you, it's me. Lin Yi pointed at himself. This has nothing to do with you. You can push all the blame on me, plus, I've been displeased with him for a long time now. But, I can't just watch you deal with him. Yu Bing still couldn't convince himself. All right, then can you promise that he won't jump out and cause trouble for us in this test? Lin Yi asked. I can't. Yu Bing shook his head. Isn't that fine then? He jumped out and wanted to die. Who can he blame? Lin Yi shrugged and said, I promise you, I won't make the first move. Is that okay? But, if you touch him, you'll make House Yu hate you even more, you and Ning. Yu Bing said worriedly. Chapter 1495. You're right. Yu Bing gritted his teeth. I'll try my best. Don't think too much, just leave it to me, Lin Yi said. Right. Do you have confidence in dealing with them? Yu Bing asked. A little, but I need to act according to the situation, around 50%. Lin Yi said honestly, I've calculated a few possibilities, I hope one of them will work. That's good enough. Yu Bing breathed in relieved. A 50-50 chance of winning was already very good. After all, a fight between two masters of similar strength always had a 50-50 chance of winning. Not to mention that there was a huge difference in strength between him and Lin Yi right now. Rest early, the test starts tomorrow, Lin Yi said. All right. Yu Bing nodded and got ready to leave. Sleep here. I'm afraid that Yu Shan will do something to you at night. This is the last chance to kill you before the test starts. Lin Yi remembered the coldness in Yu Shan's eyes and pointed at the bed beside him. What about you? There's only a single bed here? Yu Bing asked. I won't sleep, I can just sit on the sofa and train, Lin Yi said. Sleep, don't worry about time, I'll wake you up when I see you. All right. Yu Bing nodded, not rejecting him. That night, as Lin Yi had expected, Yu Shan and Nitian came to the room next to Lin Yi's. Nitian bro, I'm counting on you. You hold him down and I'll make my move. Yu Shan whispered to Nitian, his eyes filled with lust. No problem. Nitian nodded. Feng Nitian's art consumed a lot of qi, and if it wasn't something important, he wouldn't use it. Plus, there was a limit to the number of times he could use it, but today, he was here to help Yu Shan fight Yu Bing. The reason wasn't because of Nitian's loyalty, but because Yu Shan had promised him that once he killed Yu Bing, he'd have the chance to become the head of House Yu. If he became the head of House Yu, he'd make sure that House Yu would become the vassal of the ancient House Feng. House Yu may be a hidden noble house, but they were the strongest hidden noble house with 2 sky-class masters. If he could get House Yu to join House Feng's side, then it would be a huge contribution to Feng Nitian. It would become a bargaining chip for him to fight for the position of the head of the house. Originally, Nitian had promised Yu Shan to kill Yu Bing in the test, but the rules changed. Even if he came from an ancient noble house, he wouldn't dare go against the rules of the Ice Palace test. Although the Ice Palace wouldn't kill him if he went against the rules, they'd talk to the elders of House Feng for sure. Nitian would lose face in front of the elders, and it wouldn't be good for him to become the head of the house.
So he had no choice but to do it tonight.
The test hadn't started yet, and even if he killed Yu Bing, it wouldn't be against the rules of the Ice Palace.
The Ice Palace wouldn't be able to say anything.
Yushan took out a small laser ID card decryptor from his pocket and waved it in front of the door.
Yu Bing's lock opened with a click.
Even if he didn't meet Nitian, he'd be ready to kill Yu Bing in this test. This ID card decryptor was prepared for decrypting the door keys. Evidently, he brought it from home and didn't buy it here. There was no way he could buy something like this in such a short amount of time. No one. Although Yushan didn't turn on the lights, he could clearly see the situation in the room with the help of the lights from the square outside the window. A cultivator's eyes and ears were better than the average person's, so Yushan could tell with a glance that there was no one in the room.
What Yushan could see, Feng Nitian could see as well.
There were no cabinets or anything like that in the room, and the bed was sealed with wood as well. It couldn't be hidden under the bed.
Is there anyone in the washroom? Nitian asked.
Yushan opened the bathroom door and took a look. He shook his head and said, "No." Nitian turned on the lights in the room, and this time, he could see more clearly. There was no one in the room.
Not here.
Nitian was a little disappointed. He'd used the arts in vain, and it didn't work.
Could it be in Ling Yi's room next door?
My cousin and Ling Yi are really close. He always goes there.
Yushan guessed.
That's possible, Nitian nodded.
Then, let's go next door?
In for a penny, in for a pound, we'll kill Ling Yi as well? Yushan's eyes flashed with hatred. Nitian bro, your range is 3 meters, and no one can move within 3 meters. Let's kill Ling Yi as well.
That won't do.
Nitian shook his head after hearing that Yushan wanted to kill Ling Yi as well.
Why?
Yushan paused. Ling Yi, Zhang Naipeo said that he wanted him dead, and if I do anything to him, I'll be meddling in other people's business. Nitian waved his hand. Besides, I heard that Zhang Naipeo doesn't want to kill Ling Yi directly. He wants to keep him alive for his Liang bro to do it himself, so if I kill Ling Yi now, I'll be going against Zhang Naipeo.
We're helping him, it shouldn't be a big deal, right?
Besides,
are you scared of Zhang Naipeo, Nitian bro?
Yushan said, unwilling to give up. I'm not scared, I just don't want to offend him.
Nitian, of course, saw through Yushan's tactics.
But he didn't fight back. We're both from the ancient level, there's no point in making enemies.
I see.
Yushan was disappointed. So we're just going to let it go?
Don't worry, I'll take care of it for you in the test.
You can't kill people in the test, but crippling them isn't a problem. As long as they're still breathing, it's not against the rules.
Crippling them won't be a threat to you, right?
Nitian smiled casually.
That's true.
Yushan relaxed. If that's the case, then I'll have to trouble you, Nitian bro.
I'll leave Yu Bing to you.
Chapter 1496. Feng Nitian didn't touch Lin Yi, not because he was afraid of Lin Yi, but because he was afraid that Lin Yi would retaliate after he killed Yu Bing. He wouldn't know what to do then, and he wouldn't know what to do. If he did, he'd definitely offend Zhang Naipeo's side. This was Zhang Naipeo's grudge, and the disciples of the ancient level were all prideful. They wouldn't allow others to interfere with his grudge with others. If he didn't do anything, wouldn't he be waiting for Lin Yi to attack them? One could say that Feng Nitian had considered everything. He was one of the strong contenders for the head of House Feng, and he wasn't a reckless person. At this moment, Lin Yi and Yu Bing, who were in the room next door, heard the conversation clearly. Yu Bing hadn't slept yet, the test was tomorrow, and he was extremely nervous. He couldn't sleep well at this time, and when he heard the noise at the door, he woke up immediately. Hearing that Yushan wanted to kill him, Yu Bing's face flashed with anger. He didn't think that Yushan would be this cruel. Lin Yi only wanted to cripple Yushan, but Yushan wanted to kill him. You heard that? You're kind, but your cousin isn't. Lin Yi said faintly as he saw the anger on Yu Bing's face.
Phew.
Yu Bing took a deep breath, as if he had made a big decision.
You're right. There are some things that I can't change.
Rather than living in fear of being killed by my cousin in the future, I might as well take care of it once and for all.
Ha!
Lin Yi smiled. You should have thought it through long ago. The night passed peacefully, and the next morning, at 5:30, Lin Yi came back to reality from the training space. He called Yu Bing and went to the washroom to wash up. Because Yu Bing had Lin Yi as his alarm clock, he didn't have to worry about being late for the test. After being woken up by Lin Yi, he quickly washed up and waited with Lin Yi for the people from the Ice Palace to arrive. It was only 6 o'clock, but the plaza in front of the inn was already filled with disciples who had come to participate in the trial. Everyone was waiting for the arrival of the Ice Palace's emissary. Even Zhang Naipeo and Feng Nitian didn't dare waste time as they waited with the others. At the peak of the ice mountain, where the Ice Palace was located. This is the name list and information of the participants. Please have a look, Palace Master. Little Qing presented the registration book to a woman in white. This white-robed lady was the Ice Palace mistress. She was the most authoritative figure in the Ice Palace. She took the book from Qing's hands and started flipping through it. She looked from the beginning to the end, looking at everyone's background in great detail. She couldn't help but feel a little disappointed after that, but she still asked, Aunt Qing, is Yang Qiqi the only girl in this test? Yes, Palace Master, and she's also a physical practitioner. Qing nodded. I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint Master this time. The white-robed lady sighed softly. It's all my fault for not being able to comprehend the Ice Snow Mountain's heritage. Palace Master, you're already a sky-class late-phase peak at such a young age. You're already a rare genius, but the heritage of the Ice Snow Mountain has something to do with one's constitution as well. Qing consoled. Looking at the other ancient sects and families, how many of them are as young as you are, Palace Master? But, if we want to open the seal of the Heaven Stage Island, we must obtain the inheritance of ice from the Ice Spirit Mountain. The woman in white frowned. The Heaven Stage Conference is not far away. As one of the leaders of the Heaven Stage Conference, if we can't find the inheritor, the Heaven Stage Conference will lose its meaning. The other 3 houses don't have any news, right? It's not that easy to find an inheritor. Qing smiled bitterly. No news doesn't mean we haven't found one. To the ancient sects, the significance of an inheritor isn't just to open the island's seal. More importantly, it's a chance to break through the sky class and pursue the heavenly Tao. The white-robed lady said. So before the inheritor grows up, it won't be announced to the public. It's hard to avoid envious people causing trouble. That's true. Qing nodded. Palace Master, although you're not an inheritor, didn't you feel a part of the heritage as well? This can also be considered a fortuitous encounter. Only a small part. The white-robed lady smiled bitterly. Back then, before Master left, she hoped that I could obtain the heritage so that I could find her one day and meet her again. But now, if we can't open the island just because we haven't found an inheritor, then I'll be a sinner. How can I face her? Don't we still have some time? We can just take our time. There's no rush. If it really doesn't work, we can just do the test next year and relax the requirements. I don't believe that we can't find a suitable candidate, Qing suggested. That's the only way. But, I'm still not satisfied. I need to see the participants myself. The white-robed lady said. That's fine. Let's go bring the participants to the ice mountain then. Qing knew that the sect master wouldn't be at ease until she saw the only girl, Yang Qiqi. At 6:30 sharp, just as the participants were wondering where the emissary from the Ice Palace was, 2 figures, one green and one white, appeared in the sky. The girl in green was Elder Qing from yesterday. She was Sky Class Mid-Phase, and the girl in white beside her was Sky Class Late-Phase Peak. Both of their Qinggong weren't weak. They appeared in front of everyone in the blink of an eye. In the midst of everyone's shock, Qing spoke first. This is the Sect Master of the Ice Palace. Sect Master, please explain the rules and rewards of the test. This was supposed to be Qing's mission, but since the Sect Master of the Ice Palace was here herself, it was better for her to do the introductions. When Qing said that this girl in white was the Sect Master of the Ice Palace, everyone went into an uproar. Even Naipeo and Nitian were shocked. This confirmed their suspicions from yesterday. The Sect Master of the Ice Palace was a Sky Class Late-Phase Peak.